Good morning, track, running, marathon nerds. Welcome to the CITIUS Mag YouTube channel. We're here in Chicago for the 2023 Chicago Marathon, coming to you live from the Bandit Running Pop-Up at 333 North Michigan Avenue. It is bright and early, but we are ready for some fast times. I'm Chris Chavez, joined by my colleague, world record holder Kyle Merber in the DMR. We've got Sara Masters, which I'm still not used to saying, a pro runner with Team Boss. We got Declan Murray, former training partner of Kyle Merber back in the day, used to represent Ireland. We got Mac behind the camera. And what this is going to be is we're going to be watching the races, providing you our alternate commentary. So mute your TVs if you want and just watch along with us. Pull us up on secondary screen, whether that's an iPhone or whatever it might be, while you watch the main stream, which I believe it's on NBC Chicago right now. That's what we're watching. So there might be a little bit of a delay when we react, but expect some crazy reactions. We're going to hit you with some splits, stats, some hot takes every now and then. But for those who didn't watch our preview show from 2 days ago, I guess we'll give you a little refresher of what to expect. Kyle, what are you looking forward to the most today?
I mean, we've got, first off, friends to watch the marathon with, which I think is like the entire point of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
It's because I know that not everyone has friends who want to sit down and watch 2+ hours of running. And so, like, that's us.
Yeah.
We are your companions. We're your friends, your fellow nerds, ready to do this. I don't, like, it's, if you watch an entire marathon, it's very exciting. Like, I know we get a lot of, we'll have some commercials along the way, but like as it unfolds in a field and the amount of matchups that we have today, like the crescendo is building. We've been talking about the Chicago Marathon nonstop, I feel like, for the last couple of weeks. It's finally here. I didn't even have to, I woke up before my alarm.
Sara, what about you? How are you feeling for this one? This is your CITIUS Mag debut, by the way. Yeah,
CITIUS Mag debut. I'm absolutely thrilled to be here, so thank you for having me, and in excellent company, might I add. I've got Declan here as well. So I am by far the most excited. I should just start off by saying I have a clear bias in this race.
That's okay. I'm biased too. It's just, mine's more secretive. I'm not as obvious in who my bias.
Exactly. So I'm just gonna say it. I have two teammates who are competing today. I have Emma Bates and Dom Scott, two phenomenal athletes, and I am absolutely thrilled to see what they're going to bring today. I think it's going to be incredible. And in addition to that, just an incredibly deep women's field that features some stars that we're going to see in a few months at the trials, and just thrilled to see what the women come up with today.
Yeah. Declan, how about you? This is your hometown marathon.
It is, yeah, and really familiar with the course and whatnot, but it's what I think I'm most excited for is seeing how the race unfolds. I think on the women's side, we're probably going to see something pretty crazy fast, and as they take off, we'll see if the men go for something insane. We've been seeing fast times all across the board, but the race within the race, how the American women pan out, how the American men pan out, and how they approach their methods of, especially on the men's side, chasing those Olympic trials qualifying times.
Yeah, so the race literally just started a minute ago.
The thing that always gets me in Chicago and some other, it's like they start together, the men and women.
Yeah.
We don't have separate starting times. And so, like, immediately you saw, I bet you, it's Ruth, who's already up there, you know, sprinting out the early lead with the men. But it is just kind of chaotic to have everyone starting at one time. Good luck to the cameramen.
Well, I guess like the whole thing, and we talked about this a couple days ago, is just the number of pacers in this race. There's so many out there. At some point, I'll run through sort of like what the pacing assignments are for people. But the talk up in the front of the pack right now is that, you know, Kelvin Kiptum, who's got 2 races under his belt in 201, kind of downplayed the fact that he's going to be going after, or not going after the world record, instead focusing on the course record today. But then when the pacing assignments came out, it's like just shy of the world record. So I think we could see something truly special here today, but it does have, this one has a weird feel to it entirely just because of, like, it's so many different races. It's not, I feel like the race for the winner is not predetermined. Like, there still could be some drama up in the front, but it is weird that, like, some of the top Americans are not even in contention or sniffing
we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Right now, they're very much in contention. It's anyone's race. But all right, so fair to say there's 4 main matchups or races that we're kind of looking at, both obviously internationally and then within the Americans, which are I don't know, like, what are you most excited for? Which of the matchups? And I guess to run the, it's like the international men, the American men, international women going for the win, and then the American women. Maybe some of the Americans are going for it, pull it out, and we're going to look stupid in 2 hours, and I hope I do.
Well, I'll start. I'm most excited about the women's American race. I think when you have the American record holder in the race and other women who can compete with that, it's going to be really interesting to see how they approach it. Is Emily going to go out and be the rabbit for an Emma Bates or one of these other women to come and take that time? And last year when Emily did run that, it was only a few weeks earlier that at Berlin where Kira had set the American record. So it was very obvious that she was going for it, and nobody else from the American women's side was really going with her. I think we'll see a different way of that playing out this year. She doesn't need to go and set the American record. She already holds it. So she did kind of dictate that her pace was right around that same area, going out around 219, 220 pace. But that's what she did last year when she set the American record. So that's the one I think I'm most excited for, because we get to see the kind of head-to-head, and it's also the return of Molly Seidel, right? So Molly's going to be mixing it up in there to kind of maybe not racing for a 218, 219, but to kind of get that comeback, get that swagger back before the trials come up, because we know that she can race with anyone in the right type of race.
Absolutely, yes. And to kind of piggyback off of that, Declan, one thing that I kept hearing over and over kind of in pre-race interviews was that these women, these American women, are so excited to truly race. When time kept being brought up, people are, yes, excited about fast times and excited about, this course being fast and the weather being great potential for a fast day. But in addition to that, I kept hearing over and over, I'm just so excited to compete and kind of put the time out of my mind and see what I can do when I just run with these other women. So I'm super excited to see what that brings us.
And I think Kelvin Kipton was trying to give us that as well with what he was saying. We'll see if it's in action, if that's how he goes. But I think that's what he was kind of saying. So from the international men's side, the American women's side, that's what I think we'll see play out. On the American men's side, it's not even an undertone. It's just very obvious. Nobody's run 208.10. That is going to be a huge key. So that one is a little bit of a race against the clock, but then we get to see in the back half how that unfolds, because there are quite a few men with the capability of running under that. Just nobody's done it yet. And then on the women's international side, I think we're going to see a barn burner. It's going to be a race against the clock.
All right, so where do we even begin? Let's go American men.
Yeah.
The whole thing of the Americans not having run under 208.10, so much of that is just dictated by everyone always running the Boston Marathon and the New York Marathon. Like, it's just, that's what they do in the fall. That's what they do in the spring. That's where you get the biggest appearance fees. It's like the most hype. Chicago, I think now a field like this there's more hype for Chicago this year than I think any other World Marathon major. This is an exceptionally good field, just where it sits in that Olympic trials. So it's not that the American men are not capable of running under 208. They just haven't really had that many opportunities to do so yet.
Do you want to give the brief explainer to people? Just a mental refresher as to
It's
what.
not brief.
Yeah,
It's not brief. There's no such brief
What is
thing.
it? I guess, how do you qualify for the Olympics, and where do the American men stand?
Yeah, essentially, in order to qualify for the Olympics, there's a couple ways to do it, but 208.10 is the Olympic standard, and when an American man does that, or any country does that, what that essentially does is unlocks a slot for the rest of the Americans to be able to qualify. And in order to go to the Olympics at all, the first thing that you have to do is you have to run under 211.30. Like, you're not going to be eligible to go if you don't do that. And then for everyone that has run under 208.10, that unlocks a spot of one of those 211.30 guys. And right now we have none. However, you can get in via ranking. We think that we're going to be okay, at least for 2 positions, I think, on the ranking. We could use a couple more points out there today. That's not official right now. We don't have the Road to Paris descending order list out yet. But for Connor Mance or Galen Rupp to come out and run 208.10, what that essentially does, it opens up like a guaranteed spot for one of those 211.30 guys, of which right now there are only 6 to go to the trials. And be able to actually walk away as a qualifier. I think the dream scenario is the top 3 at the Olympic trials are the top 3 that we send to the Olympics. It's a lot less confusing that way.
I think with that, you get the opportunity today to see how many are going to try and run that 2:11 time. I think we saw a lot of American men run in the 2:13 to 2:14 range over the last couple of years at this race, but 2:11 is a little bit different of a story when it comes to hitting that time that they need to be able to be in one of those unlocked spots.
All right, so looking at the screen on right now, no American men going out on 2:02 pace, it seems.
Just over a mile, by the way. So like not too far into this one.
Yeah, the first mile split when we get it is going to be a little crazy, but I mean the way this is going to unfold, apparently there's 3 pacers up in the front targeting 60-20 through the half, which puts them at
140.
Yeah.
Wait, what was it? 60-40?
Or-
201-20 then.
Yep, 201.20 is
Which is fast. That's Kipchoge.
just off world record pace, but closing hard. That's the halfway split, and what we've seen is Kelvin Kipchoge knows how to close hard. So
He's consistently closed hard before. Declan probably fact-check me on this. Basically, every single distance world record is set in a negative split. The only one, I think, of the current distance world records out there that is a positive split is Kipchoge's.
I think when Chepengedich ran the world record, or sorry, when Bridget Kosgei ran the world record here, I believe it was a positive split, but no longer the world record.
No longer, yeah.
So
Sefa did a negative split. So I do think that negative split is the best. It's the advice I give to everyone who's going out, and whether they're trying to break 2, 3, 4, 5, like set yourself up for a negative split. And so for Kelvin Kiptum to say, yeah, I want to go out in 60-40, to me that says, and I want to come back in 60 low, which is a world record.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what we're seeing on the women's side. You know, they were talking about the pace and having it be a little easier than what Chepengedich did last year. So last year she went out in 65-40 something, and they were talking about 66 to 66-30, which is 2:13 pace, which would have been a minute faster than the world record a week ago. So not really a moderate effort by any means, but Chepengedich went out and ran 65 and then hung on to run 2:14.18 last year. So I think getting a little bit of an easier go in the front half, and probably having a few more women with her. The depth of the field here also means on the men's side that she'll have more men there. And that makes a big difference because she will be able to kind of tuck in. That was what Emily did up through around 20 miles. She was with a pretty decent pack of men last year where she was able to kind of hide a little bit and had 2 rabbits out there, and it made it a little bit easier for her. So I wouldn't be surprised to see if the top women were just kind of tucking into a pack of men that are trying to run around the same pace.
We just aren't going to see and this is like the worst part about having the same start is like we haven't seen the women on screen yet.
there's a challenge, I guess, on this course.
That's what I mean. Like it's really,
it's frustrating for fans for sure. Like I'm sure there's people who are out there watching, and it's like show the women's race. So I guess we got a little bit of insight into just like the logistics behind it as to like last year why didn't they show the American record hunt. And so apparently the first lead cameras go out with the wheelchair races, and then obviously there's going to be a camera up in the front of the men's elite race. But after the wheelchair races end, I think they're supposed to drop back and film the chase packs that are behind the leaders. But that's a lot to try and pull off. So I mean, good luck to the broadcast teams that are doing it. But yeah, it's unfortunate right now that we have, aside from the fact that I just got that the first mile split was 4:32 for the first mile.
okay, they're cooking.
They're cooking. Yeah.
There's a bit of a downhill in that first mile, I believe.
And the challenge here is
you do get
there's
when
no
you come out in
commentary
Columbus,
on
it does go down a little bit.
No commentary
and
on
then you make a left turn, and it stays pretty flat. I mean, the net downhill in this race is, or a net uphill in this race is pretty much zero. It's all really flat. You don't have the bridges that you have in New York that make it such a difficult race. But yeah, I think with that early pace, it makes it really difficult too for the just like a camera to navigate through all of these bodies, because in a race where the women start first, or if there's a little bit of a division there, they're able to like establish themselves. Now they're trying to like weave through masses of men, and it's kind of right around where a lot of those American men are, to try and get the top women, and it is really difficult. But I think we'll probably see a concerted effort from them this year, because last year there were a lot of people that said like, we want to see more of the women's race pan out, even if they're broken up and tucked into packs with the men.
So another thing too is I think the stream that we're watching right now, there's no commentary on this. This is not the NBC Chicago stream. National commentary. So you don't have to mute it when there's nothing. So watch with us. Up in the front of this race, like I don't know. How entertaining is this? I guess until when does it get thrilling for you? I guess when it's just like a time trial.
Yeah, we
right?
need some of these pacers to get out of here. I mean, it's fun because you want to take them to a place where it's setting up for a fast time, and especially early on. But like that, it's a 1-to-1 ratio right now of pacers to actual racers. But you do see Kelvin Kiptum, like he is up in it right now, and Benson Kipruto to his right. It's just like, I saw that we just did the poll, Mac, in the chat of Kelvin Kiptum versus the field. Benson Kipruto should be furious that he is just being so discounted. A Boston champ, the defending Chicago champ, a guy who has also proven that he can close super hard at the end of the race. And yet we're like, only just mentioning him now 5K into the race.
We talked a lot about him on Friday too, of how if this race doesn't go out on 2:01 pace, it really does set up for a great opportunity for him to be in the mix. I think he would go for it if it's a 2:01 pace through the half. No doubt about it. He's racing to win. But as someone who ran 2:04 here last year, I think if it's on that mid 2:03 pace, something that he's run before, he's going to be much more comfortable being in there and going for it. And we're kind of seeing like the pacers start, as they hit the bottles, to start surging out. Maybe this is just an effort to stay out of everybody's way while they get the bottles. But yeah, seeing we're at 3 miles right now, and
oh my God,
seeing that
water stations are chaos. It
is, and maybe that's it. It's just the pacers like, I need to get out of the way.
Yeah.
So when I grab this bottle, I'm horrible at it. I'm not going to take out the rest of this field with me.
I have a crazy update. The women have gone out in 10:03 for the first 2 miles.
So that's 2:11 pace.
We are
a
on
crazy update.
world record.
We're not
pace.
exaggerating.
Again, it is a little downhill in the beginning. Kelvin Kiptum, did he just run away for all the rabbits, or are there some rabbits ahead of him?
It looks like he's ahead of the rabbits.
Oh my
right?
gosh.
They've got to like
No, they'll
move
catch
with
up. I
him.
think.
I think that's just
They are
on the
flying
bottles,
right now.
Should we?
This is why I'm like, actually, I'm anti-rabbit pretty much, like, for
he's
everything.
pointing.
He's like, what are
But
you
I'm
doing?
loving
He's like,
this
get up in front.
because every single time there's a ton of rabbits like this, and there's like a really fast pace that's expected from the best athlete, they think the pace is actually faster than like what it is. Like Mo Farah did this when he set his like 10K PB. He was like telling the rabbits to go faster and faster and faster, and the rabbits were already running at pace or faster. You're seeing Kelvin do it right now too. The rabbits are like, this is plenty fast enough. Look at this. They're flying.
Sifan Hassan is apparently also up there with Ruth Chepngetich and Ginzebe Dababa. So, I mean, that's not surprising. The one thing that I do find a little bit interesting is in the whole list of all the rabbits that were participating in this, that Sifan has her own person. It's Reed Buchanan, I think, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
So, first mile was 4:34, second mile 4:38, and now this third mile must have been crazy.
Can you tell
so
who's
we're
next
waiting.
to Kelvin?
Well, this brings me to another topic that someone wanted to talk about in the chat, which is like, let's talk about these kits. Obviously, they don't look as nice as the Bandit Running kits that you can get at banditrunning.com using promo code CITIUS15 for 15% off through the month of October. But some of these brands just don't talk to each other.
They gotta talk.
The color schemes, like the new Nike kits that are debuting in this race, look very similar to the Puma kits, or vice versa. And it's like, this doesn't help us in terms of like looking at the field and being able to determine who's who. We talk a lot about bibs and wanting to abolish the bibs this year in particular, but I think a marathon is one where it's like, it is helpful to see at least like their number. Here, the font size is, I don't know, we got to work on a little bit of the bib designs here because I can't read who's up next to him right now.
I'm trying so hard.
Oh, it's Daniel Matejko.
Okay.
Not shocking. So
Okay.
explain this to people, why he was our dark horse.
He was
pick
our
for this
dark
one.
horse,
Yeah.
and we didn't recognize him. I think for fairness, because this is his marathon debut. Daniel Matejko has run 58:20 for a half marathon. So right there, it's like you got to take him seriously in a debut of a marathon. He rabbited Kelvin Kiptum in London for the first 30K.
Yeah.
And they're talking right now. Kiptum just like turning to Matejko and exchanging words. Like, I think that's a good sign of they're probably going to be in this together and have a good idea of what the other one is trying
Women's
to
5.
accomplish today.
Just
So,
came in.
hopefully we get to the later stages of the race. They're both there and we get to see a bit of racing between them. But to see that they're working together in the early stages and overtly working together, not just one kind of keying off the other.
I got some splits. Men's 5K split was 14:26. Women's 5K split was 15:42.
Wow. All right. All right. We're down to one pacer. A little.
I kind of
earlier.
want him to drop out so we just have a mano-to-mano race.
No, I
Really? You still want? How far do you want him to go?
because these guys are boys anyway. Clearly, like they might be training partners. I don't know. We can.
No, who? Kiptum? No.
And Matejko, they're not.
No, Matejko trains with the NN running team.
Oh,
So
okay.
Matejko is like, could be, he's only, I think, 23 or something like that, where like he could be the heir apparent to Kipchoge, like in the same way that we talked about Joffrey Camor for a long time. It was just like he racked up a couple world marathon major titles early on in his career. Like this, he's taking a crack at his first.
I just thought because they were talking boys and he rabbited him before, But the thing is, you have one rabbit. He's got a bunch of KT tape on him. Like,
Does
don't
that
know.
worry you?
Is that holding him together?
Like, how do you
or-
feel
Yeah.
that you got one rabbit and you're hoping he takes you 20 miles and he's wrapped up?
Doesn't inspire confidence. Not at all.
All right, Sarah, so you heard that 5K split. What are your thoughts?
I am thinking I would love to see what's going on back there. Who's in that lead pack? Who's not in the lead pack? Who's coming back and might get to have a special day because there are going to be people coming back to him and maybe sooner than expected.
Some 5K splits now from the top American women. Emily Sisson and Emma Bates up there, 16:32. So they're projected right now for a 2:19:28 finish. So they're right with Matt Yano, who's pacing them. So it's on. It is on.
I love seeing that there's so many legitimate American men out here rabbiting. Like Matt is here and Reed is here. Like it's kind of, you'd probably get a lot of confidence in your own racing to come out and just like run a 2:19 and be like, oh, I could go faster. Like that felt good. I definitely have 10 more minutes in me. But also just like, you're probably doing that for training anyway. Occasionally crushing 26 miles, just a little bit sub-marathon pace.
I
Might
mean,
as well do it and help out some
any
friends.
opportunity I could get paid to do a hard long run,
Yeah.
I would take it.
And you get so many photos and pictures taken of you along the way. Good Instagram content.
And you don't get the opportunity
Priorities.
a lot because if they're not starting men and women together, then they're not going to have male rabbits in the race. So you can, in this one, you get the opportunity to, for some of them, they might have a rabbit till like they get to the Roosevelt Hill at 26 miles. And then you'll see the men kind of like trickle off to the side, let the women go and race. And then they,
I love that.
bail out or cross the finish line.
Did you
You,
just see
you
that
step
move?
off from rabbiting, and everyone's like, "Good job,
No.
great job, great
It just
job, great
happened.
job," and you're like, "Yes, yes."
Yeah.
Kelvin Kiptum just tapped the rabbit on the shoulder and directed him to the right side of the road because there was a turn coming up and he was running no tangents whatsoever. He's like a conductor right now.
So do you guys want to talk a little bit about the course for those unfamiliar, I think?
explain this to us. I
So,
guess. So we're just after 5K, right?
Yeah, or just after 4 miles
Okay.
now. So they're in this stretch where, you have this little like jog right, jog left. But so heading into Lincoln Park right now, they're going to keep going north till they get to Sheridan Road, so just north of Wrigley Field. But they'll start turning coming south 4 miles from now. So essentially, there are some slight like quick right, quick left turns, but you've got about 4 miles of straight running right now before they'll come back down. We were talking weather. Like right now, the wind isn't really a factor, but if it does pick up, it's actually pretty beneficial right now because the wind is very light, but coming from the northwest. So if it starts picking up, it'll be at their back as they're already on their way back down. So they basically get an hour or so of free running without any wind. This is when it would be a headwind if there was going to be any. So that kind of works out. And then once you hit the 8 mile mark, you come straight back down into the city. So again, like, yeah, they'll have a few times where they'll make a jog left or right, like at North Avenue. They'll make a right. They'll be right back where they are right now, coming south. But then they'll hit 13, the half mark, like right in the loop. They'll go out west for a couple miles, out into Little Italy, down through Pilsen. They'll hit Chinatown around 20, which is like the most electric part of the course. So I think it's really nice to have that around 2021, where it's like everybody is so excited. But then you go into this like dark place where there's nobody on the course from like 22 to 25.
It's rough out there.
And it's just you're kind of running right along the highway. There's no one out there. Chris has experienced it. And then you come back to a roar about like a mile and a half to go in the race where people want to make sure they can, give like some final words of encouragement, or occasionally you'll see people like jump in and try and run their friends in till they get to Roosevelt. And then like right at 26 miles, the only significant hill in the race, like Mount Roosevelt, it's really short, but you're 400 meters or a little less to the finish line. And you just go straight up the hill and then make a left turn. You're in the finish and it's just downhill coasting in. So I think for the most part, yeah, it's like a couple out and backs.
Yeah.
And then what feels like a mountain at the finish.
We got our first glimpse at
We saw the women. They were there. They started as well. You can confirm 23 minutes into the race.
Well, that's a good sign, though, that they're able to like be there. I think we'll probably see that that moto will probably try and stay there now, mainly because of the blowback that they got a year ago for not being able to get there. So hopefully that moto just kind of sticks with them, and that may be because they actually just kind of are the wheelchairs are passing in the opposite direction of where the women are going north. So they might have passed and swung around to catch up with the women at that point, now that it's cleared out a little bit.
Why are there not drones? Like, just throw some drones in the sky and follow them. Don't drones like follow people now? That's like a thing like that you can do.
I don't know what you need from a satellite perspective to make that work. I've seen the helicopters at Tour de France, and it's amazing.
We have helicopters in Chicago.
The Tour de France has had this figured out for like, what, 25 years?
Yeah.
But
NBC
I mean, all these
Chicago
production
definitely has a
companies
helicopter.
are, I mean, they're all different. They're all.
So we saw Ruth. She was communicating with the pacers. It seemed like they were checking in and say, how's this pace for you? Sifan Hassan was like 2.5 seconds. Like,
Yeah.
not
She's working
quite in
with
the
Reed
slip-
Buchanan. Yeah.
Yeah, not quite in the slipstream, but like shadowing.
This is, there's going to be so much carnage in the second half of this race.
Yeah. Is Sifan Hassan the most exciting person to watch in women's running right now?
I would say so.
yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, from this standpoint, this race, absolutely the most intriguing individual probably to me. Kind of an unknown commodity. No one has ever done what Sifan Hassan is doing right now. Run at the world's triple and 6 weeks later come back and run a world major marathon. We haven't seen it before, so I'm personally really intrigued to see how does it go. It's a total wild card.
My favorite thing in talking to her from a couple of days ago is just like how she called her training build-up to the London Marathon just absolute trash. She was like, it was bad training. I was like, couldn't have been that bad. You won the race. Like, you're the only person who could say that. And then she was like, yeah, I mean, this one, it's like there was no break. At World, she did a workout after one of the 15 rounds, and then goes back to Park City, Utah, and has just been hammering for the last 4 weeks or 6 weeks. And she was like, we'll see how this goes. And she does say like that she brings the drama to the races. So I'm hoping we can get a shot of if she stops at some point to tie her shoe
No
or whatever.
stopping this time.
No stopping. I mean, you gave me crap about my lapse time on my Strava runs, and maybe Safan is the same way.
I mean, yeah. The funniest thing to do is when someone is, posting their runs, trying to brag about their sub-7 long run. Chris,
Enough. Cut his mic, man.
Cut
his
mic.
mic.
It's like, well, what happened to 15 minutes extra between the beginning and the end of this
Water
run?
I have a lot of important emails to get to while on the run. Okay, so a couple other splits. That fourth mile that we watched, 4:34 for the men, and then 4:35 for mile 5. Kelvin Kiptoum just crushing it right now with his KT taped up pacer.
He looks comfortable.
And they just passed 10K maybe seconds ago. I only know that because I used to live a block from here. So I think they just passed that 10K sign. It was 6 miles was at that last turn at Fullerton. So
here are the tangents again. This is it. So Kelvin Kiptoum, this is only his 3rd marathon.
Knows the course.
Knows this course very well, is a genius. This rabbit does not know the course. Oh, it's a bottle. It's a bottle.
Oh, missed? He got it.
Oh my God, the surging.
My hero. He did my move. He knocked the other bottles down. That's what I would be doing.
Bottle grab, so important. People go for bottles with one hand. It's like, what are you doing here? 2 hands, grab the bottle, keep moving. Oh, there's 10K. Okay, so right.
What was that, like 28?
45?
But why don't they wear receiver gloves? Like
the extra sticky.
Pull the sticky bandit.
Here's the women's chase pack.
Boom.
Declan, where are they right now? Like mile 5?
This is
way past mile 5.
No, that's 6 miles. Where like this aid station is 6 miles, so they're not very far behind.
Wild how close he is. Wow. Oh my gosh.
So I don't know if the mile marker is on the back end of this aid station or if it was on the front end. But yeah, I mean they're a quarter mile from 10K.
Okay, 10K splits officially was 28:42. So that puts him at 2:01:04 pace. We're on world record watch, people. Yeah, so then we've got Daniel Matejko right there with him. But then after that, with Wolde, Zayden Mohamed Essa, Benson Kipruto, taking a little bit more of a conservative approach. They're at 2:03. There's a pack of guys in 2:03 pace. So if I'm looking at this correctly, there's 7 guys under the course record pace right now.
They just got a drone. They heard us.
And then the Americans just hit the 10K split. Connor Mance leads that pack. It's Connor Mance, Galen Rupp, Daniel Messman. They're all in 2:08:13 pace. So this is pretty interesting about Galen. It's like that he's struggled with injury the last 2 years. Typically, he's one of those guys who will always put himself in contention to win the races. But today, playing it a bit safer. It's like maybe just lock up the Olympic qualifying mark. So what do you, Kyle, you kind of researched this a little bit. What do you know about Daniel Messman? Like, he's a relatively new name on the U.S. marathoning scene.
Yeah, I mean,
transferred allegiances last year, I think, from Eritrea.
Yeah, so Daniel's run 2:10. That was 5 years ago. In the last couple years, he's had a number of like 2:12 to 2:14s, but like, obviously at some point demonstrating his ability to go a bit quicker. For him today, it's just about getting that 2:11:30, knocking that out. And I do think like coming in with a relatively conservative game plan across the board, like for Rupp as well, just saying, I'm not going out with the lead pack. I'm not trying to win it this year like he has in the past. At some point in the race, you'll develop that confidence where you're like, wow, I'm having a good one rather than I need to hold on. And then that's when you can take a chance. So for the Americans, just seeing them right outside the 2:08:10 or right outside 2:11 pace, I just like the mental games that they're probably playing at the moment where, this is comfortable. I can do this.
Absolutely. And sorry, go ahead.
No, you, Sarah.
I was just going to add to that, you're looking for momentum within the race, but you're also looking for momentum over the next 4 months, right? You want to have that hope and that encouragement and that reason to believe that you're going to be in a position to make a team or come close, come trials in a few months. And so, not only does that negative split help you believe within the race that you can accelerate, but kind of in the same way accelerate your training over the next several months.
Like if you walk away saying, "Oh, I left seconds on the table."
Absolutely.
Women splits up for 10K for
Got
Chevin
faster.
Gadich. They got faster. They just split 31:05. They're at 2:11:06 pace right now.
Oh,
Sifan Hassan
man.
right up there as well. So we have Sifan Hassan is not getting much camera time right now, but she's right behind Chevin Gadich. And then there's a whole pack of women 3 minutes behind, or two women 3 minutes behind, and then another group of three another minute behind them. So this is, and now we just got a incoming 10K split for the American women. Emily Sisson and Emma Bates still together. They are currently at 2:19:14 pace, so they just sped it up a little bit in the second half. And we see Sifan Hassan right now looking comfortable.
You don't want the camera time to be in the first part of the race. You want your camera time in the second half of the race.
Yeah.
So, Benson Kipruto, they're now like over 30 seconds back.
Crazy.
And it's either we were joking about this the other day, but it's like we're either going to be like idiots, went out way too hard, or this is just a 2-man race and like that's it. Like that, no one's coming back.
I don't mind either way. Like if it's a 2-man race, like we get to see one of the best marathon races ever. If they blow up, like we get to watch the hunt on the back, like
Yeah.
6 miles, which is also really fun because there's no real way of like calculating, are you going to get it when somebody's blowing up in a marathon? It's like they could step off any minute and you go from, third to second, and nobody's dropping out if they're in the lead. But, if you get dropped, you're just trying to hang on for the prize money as long as you're in the last like 6 miles or so. So you can't really guess because you could go from running 4:30 pace to 5:30 pace really quickly.
So we've talked a little bit about Emily Sisson, Emma Bates. Molly Seidel is kind of running with, I believe Rory Linkletter is pacing her for this one. She is currently on 2:21 pace herself. So that would be good. I guess we talked about this 2 days ago, but what would make for a successful showing for Molly Seidel, Sarah? I guess like for you, like if you're her after battling some injuries and having to scratch from races, like what would be a good, takeaway from this race that you would be happy with, looking towards this next marathon?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say the first thing is, was her build healthy, right? Like that's a huge win if she's in a place to be able to do a healthy build and feel pretty good and get stronger throughout and feel, ready to race and excited to race being here. And based on everything she said in the press conference, it sounds like that's exactly the case. So I'm thrilled for her to see that. And, again, to kind of the point that I was making about Galen as well, when you're returning from injury and you've missed so much time, kind of getting the flavor of being back out there and getting that competitive excitement again is huge, remembering that that's what incentivizes all of the hard training and all of the hard work, and B, just building that confidence. And the biggest word I would say is momentum. Absolutely. Anything that kind of puts things in a positive direction and makes one feel confident is going to be something that's going to help with that build up and with the trials race in a few months. Absolutely. So that's what I'd be looking for if I were her.
Yeah, it's interesting to not necessarily need to attribute a time to it, but because of where she's been over the last 2 years or so, I really don't think it's a time-based goal. It's, was that build healthy? Does she finish healthy? Closing the second half of the race, running a negative split would probably be such a huge confidence booster for her that I can go out, I can feel this pain, and I can keep going. Like, I think that those kind of things will be massive for her.
I don't know if, Mac, if you are able to pull this up, but I was looking earlier at Molly's Strava, and it's just healthy. Like, for the most part, like it's good to see that just, over the course of the last few months leading into the race, she's been healthy, but then threw in a couple 135-mile weeks.
Wow.
And I think
That's her sweet spot. She feels comfortable at 135, which is
wild.
wild.
Her sweet spot is 135 miles a week and not 60. My sweet spot these days is 20. But I think for both her and Galen, it's not even just about like what happens here. And I'm putting them in similar boats as Olympic marathon medalists who've struggled with injury the last couple of years. For them, it's not even just about like what's the time today and what like this race result is, but that entire block of training. Like what has the last 3 months been like? And have you been able to piece something together?
Let me just pass my old apartment.
And so that's like mile 7 roughly where that aid station was for the women. But it's so interesting to me right now to see us like in a place where we're seeing the men go by and then so quickly we're 8 miles into the race. So quickly after seeing the women. Like,
It's so weird to me.
this is a different world than what we had 5-6 years ago. And I think it's just there's so much more than just the super shoes at play. Like it's so amazing to see that. Now, sure, there's only 2 women in that pack right now, but the fact that it's not just one, which has been how a lot of these races have panned out in years past, it's like Sifan Hassan just in there and going for it. So we're talking the world record was smashed by 2+ minutes, and 2 women are just going for it right now.
There's, I think like if we would have gone back like 3 weeks ago, do you think what happened in Berlin reframed the mindset of these elite women where it's sort of like 2:11 isn't going out in this pace isn't that crazy, but like you just kind of needed someone to be the first one to do it, and that now it's like, all right, someone's done it, they didn't die, so like I think I can give it a try. Like, is that a real thing? I guess like go back to the famous thing with the sub 4, like it opened the floodgates. Like was 2:11 just another faucet that just got turned on? What do you think?
Roger Bannister.
The Roger Bannister effect.
Marathon.
It's the Tigges Assefa effect in the women's marathon.
Yeah, I mean, if they went out in 2:11 pace and that hadn't happened in Berlin, we would be sitting here like, what are you doing? But now all of a sudden it's like,
Everybody said that when Ruth Jeppengetich did it last year. They're
Yeah.
like, this is insane. What is she doing? She was 17 seconds off the world record. And yes, like she faded pretty significantly, but we 100% did that 365 days ago. So to think that we probably would have said the same thing if she did it again, yeah, we probably would.
Yeah, and I mean, that's something we see at every level of the sport, right? Like over the last 5-10 years, we've seen such an acceleration in every single level from, high school athletics, collegiate athletics, and obviously these world record ranking performances are no different. That's just paving the path for the next person to come along and try to break the record as well.
Sarah, you're waiting for that sub 14 in the 5K to crack so you start thinking, you know what? Sub 14 ain't that bad.
Exactly.
we haven't really talked about the weather.
So there's a little
It's
bit of wind
perfect.
out there. It's perfect right now.
It's super comfortable out. And I feel like all weekend, the vibes of everyone we've spoken to who's racing, like so high, so much confidence just from the fact that it's, mid-high 40s and not too windy. And it's kind of interesting the difference of now being at a number of world marathon majors these last few years. And it's like when it's going to be a scorcher, like the vibe is just everyone's like, did I waste the last 3 months of my life training just to come out and run in the heat?
There's Stan's Donuts. I've been to that one.
And I was thinking about this because, like, we were complaining about rabbits and fast courses versus hilly courses, and we just want to see racing and head-to-head. But part of the reason why I like flat, fast, good weather days is because besides the few people who are actually contending for the win, it's like there are thousands of people who just want a time. They don't care about what place they're in, and I hope all those people have a good one today as well. We're not covering them enough.
I also love that it gives people an opportunity to put it all out there. Like these guys are trying to run an all-time mark for themselves. Like the chance of them getting another perfect opportunity right now, like to do this ever again is like rare. So yeah, like last year we're going to see, there's a potential for Ruth to blow up again, but you have to be able to try like that. I think Kelvin is my new favorite runner because of how he's bossing his rabbit around.
Yeah.
I wanted Benson to
There's
win this,
mile
but now
9.
I'm loving Kelvin bossing this rabbit around.
He is like constantly like pointing at the blue line that's painted, and if you like can you can't always see it, but when you do, he's running right on it at all times. So it's just he's clearly running as intelligently as possible. But yeah, I love the pointing and him calling out every turn that's going to happen before it comes.
Kelvin Kipton is a player coach. Like, he used to coach himself.
Yeah. But now he has his own coach.
But
No one really knows who it is.
The first time, it's me. I have something to tell you guys. It's like pulling off Scooby-Doo.
He's
masks.
really wise for only being officially like 23.
I mean, I don't know like how much wisdom it takes to just say follow the blue line that's showing us the shortest way to get from point A to point B. But yeah, he's wise in other ways, I'm sure.
My favorite thing is being a hobby jogger like myself out there and sticking on the blue line and getting mad at people who are in my way. And it's like, this doesn't make a difference for
Use
me.
the elbows.
Yeah.
So all right, so for both of these guys, Matejko,
Kiptoon, like he just did like
a juke.
Yeah, he did a football pattern there.
For
Yeah.
Matejko, like the ability to fuel in the first one, if you're running a half marathon in 58 minutes, like eat a banana 2 hours before, come out, you're fine. You got enough carbs to get through, but the marathon is a little bit of a different game, which fueling really does become super important. And Kelvin, obviously being Mr. 201, is 2 for 2 and has like immediately executed that. But Matejko having someone like Kipchoge as a mentor and training partner,
That's another edge.
pretty good. I mean, Kipchoge's had 2 bad races, mediocre marathons in his whole career, but like fueling has never been an issue for him.
No, he was one of the early adopters to the whole, like, I guess the Morton hydrogel kind of like game changer era that happened in 2017. Now everyone's kind of followed suit in that side of the industry. We got some 15K splits. Kiptoon and Matejko battling it out. They're currently on 2:01:23 pace, so that last 5K slowed down just a little bit, but still fairly aggressive. Benson Kipruto running 3 minutes behind him. He's in a pack of at least 5 guys. They're in 2:04. They're on pace for 2:04. And that's what we've got so far. In a sec, we'll probably get the top American men to just kind of get an indicator of like, how are we feeling about this 2:08:10?
I feel good.
Yeah, I feel good right now too. We set the over/under at 1.5.
In baseball, there's like the idea that you never mention a perfect game before, right? Like if a pitcher's 8 innings deep and having one,
Everyone's thinking it, nobody says it.
you don't say it. Like that's big superstition. In running, we're just like 3 weeks out. We're like, world record, world record, world record, world record. Oh, they went out for the first mile. World record, world record. Ah, they missed.
Yeah, and it's like seconds before they cross the finish line. It's like, oh, no world record.
Yeah.
Connor Mant's split is up. He just hit 15K with Galen Rupp and Daniel Mesfin in wait, what? Oh, 45:11. I see it now. Oh, Sam Shalenga's up there too. Galen is not. 2:07:05 pace. So they've got a minute of wiggle room. Mance is accelerating a little bit. I saw this tweet the other day about like how pro runners don't think about the negative split or banking time. Is that a thing? Like in terms of just during a marathon?
What do you mean? Like
They don't. The approach is never like, oh, I'm gonna go hard the first half and then like die in the second half.
there's a reason why they're professionals.
Yeah.
They're
They
so
know
much
that-
closer to the red line than the average runner in the front half of a race, right?
Yeah.
Like, in the average runner, like they will hit their red line, but because they're not maximizing yet the full potential of themselves, they're not even close to that in the front half, where like these guys right now are running pretty close to like the 58 and 59 half marathons that they've run. So that red line is a lot closer. You're not banking any time. Like you blow up bad.
The closer, if I think of like walking pace as around 15-minute miles, the closer or like the further away you are from that, then the value of banking time is less and less. So if you're running 4:30 pace, think like worst case scenario, just walking in 15-minute miles, there's a lot of room for error. Whereas I guess like, if you're running 9-minute pace, you can always just revert back to 15-minute miles. Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
So like the banking the time, the faster you're getting, less valuable.
Someone in the chat's like, that's not how physiology works.
I love how Sifan is racing this.
I do too.
It is so annoying to someone leading if you run like just 20 feet behind them, like straight behind them. Because, I mean, I know Ruth is a pro's pro here and she's just going to run her own race, but it has to be sort of impossible to not think, is Sifan still there while you're running this fast? Like, they're running 2:11 pace and she's like, oh, she's not dropped. Oh, actually, there is a little bit more separation here than we've seen. But still, I love how Sifan is sticking into this because we thought that maybe she would stay back a little bit and then pick up, some carnage at the end. But
So
she's getting after it.
we have a 15K split right now for the top women. And so that was 46:36. So they're on 2:11:05 pace. Sifan Hassan right there. So it's Ruth Chepngetich, Sifan Hassan. Honestly, Reed Buchanan might come away with a PR from this thing.
Reed Buchanan
His PR is 2:11:38.
He needs the 2:11:30.
Yeah. So this works out for him. Yeah.
Who says no? Not me.
Well, the funniest thing was yesterday I tweeted out all the pacing assignments and like someone I think quote tweeted is like, so are the 66-minute pacers for the men or for the women? And it's like, it's true. I mean, like they're up there now. They're mixing it up with some of the top American men.
There is something to be said too. Like I feel like everyone when they're pacing, they're like, I felt amazing. Like, anytime would have even paced like a 1500, I was like, that was the most incredible 1K I've ever run in my entire life. Like everybody was congratulating me about how good I looked. Like you do feel a lot more relaxed. You feel a lot smoother because you take a little bit of that pressure off. And like maybe there's something to be said here for one of these rabbits saying, yeah, like I do feel good. Like this, I'll just keep going for a little while longer.
We've seen that. I mean, the marathon, I feel like rabbits win more often than any other race. Like on the track, it happened once in Oslo 40 years ago, and we still reference it all the time. Whereas, like, it's not uncommon, especially in some of like the mid majors, in which rabbits, were able to get in to help out teammates, and you get to 30K, and it's not. I mean, if you've never been there before, then you're suddenly there. Then no one's with you. You're allowed to go, and that's something that's established a lot of time beforehand with rabbits. Of like, you have to run the pace. You have to stay with them till this point, and then you generally get permission ahead of time to stay in or not.
Kyle, give me a form check. What's going on here in the
Kiptoon's a big arms guy.
Yeah, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah,
who looks the best?
I would say that the rabbit has improved. I'm not as worried about him anymore. Kelvin has effectively coached him to buttery smooth form. But no, I think Kelvin looks still super consistent within himself. And remembering London, that last 10K, like he has an entirely different form that he's able to tap into. Like it seems like he's very contained and within himself right now, and then he can open it up. And the longer we get into the race in which we have not seen that yet, the better I'm feeling about it. But Matejko just
hanging in there.
We're
He's
not as familiar with Matejko's form and, what we should be looking out of him. But he's, just the fact that he's thought that this was a good idea, to me, says he's either my favorite runner because he's a complete wild card, or like he's going to be around for a while because apparently he can run 2:01.
And it was 30K that he paced 2:01 through. I mean, 12K is a long way to go, but you've been close.
How frustrated do you think Connor Mantz is that he's not allowed to go out in 62 right now?
It was one of the things I asked him at the press conference. I'm like, this must like hurt a little bit. All he does is take big swings at these marathons. Last year, here for his very first one, Boston, he did it as well, going out and racing basically with Kipchoge for a bit. But this one, it's like you gotta play it safe. Although like it might hurt like down the road where you're just like itching and scratching, like, man, that 2023 Chicago Marathon, perfect conditions.
Best
but
buildup of my life.
Yeah, the best buildup of my life.
Women's 15K Americans.
Yes.
Who we have not seen yet.
We haven't seen them on the broadcast yet.
Arguably the biggest stars
of this race.
Of this
yeah.
race, at least like in the American audience.
Yeah.
Emma Bates, Emily Sisson, Molly Seidel, we have not seen on screen yet. Let's just digest that a little bit. How many people tuned in to watch those three?
And so they're currently, they split 49-26 through the 15K. Sisson and Bates still together. Sarah, how are you feeling?
I feel excellent. I love seeing this split. I love seeing this pace. Emma Bates has been so confident in her training, and that was something that she vocalized before Boston was her fitness, and she went and showcased that. She was leading the whole thing. She ran excellent 2:22, and so I am so excited to see what she can do on a flat course and with company. Emily Sisson is an incredible runner, and the two of them together, I think we're just going to get a multiplier effect of really seeing what they're both capable of today.
I'm wondering if this next 5K too, if we do see an acceleration, I think then we'll know we're seeing a little bit of like wind aided piece here, because we did see the wind like pick up a little bit. It would be at their back if we're getting anything. So they've run like perfectly even, like within 3 to 4 seconds for each of the first 3 5Ks. So like that's ideal. That's exactly what we want to do. Now, do they end up getting a little bit of tailwind, or are we finding out that like the wind's just going to be a total non-factor too?
So, Sarah, you've spent a couple of years training with Coach Joe Bossard for the last couple of years. I mean, it's a training group that has women who run the 800 up through the marathon. Like, are there things that you match up with Emma and Dom in training that the occasional workout? What does that look like, I guess, behind the scenes that people may not be as familiar with? Because it's an eclectic but so talented group.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's one of the great strengths of the team, and really shows also Joe's acumen as a coach, right? It's pretty incredible to be able to coach women in events from 800 to marathon. It's pretty unique. And, there is occasional overlap. Sometimes we'll be kind of giggling at practice, like, oh, this is, you'll find yourself in an unexpected combination of people, right? Which is really delightful. But one thing that I would love to say is, Emma Bates and Dom Scott have trained together for this marathon, and this is really their first buildup to be fully overlapping together. And so, a lot of the success that we've seen from Emma Bates, she has done a lot of the training alone, which is incredible and, requires so much mental and physical fortitude to hit those splits and do that mileage day after day. And so, again, kind of talking about that force multiplier of, working together in a team. I'm so excited to see what her and Dom bring today, at least in part because I really feel like they complement each other. And so that's been a really cool thing to see Dom kind of moving up from the track and stepping into, Emma Bates's world where she's more experienced and teaching each other in that way.
Very cool.
So we were saying this, you had suggested the other day, Chris, that Molly going out and running 2:26, you're like,
exceeding my expectations right now.
I think she'd be happy with 2:26, and the fact that she's gone out, on 2:21 pace, and I think I said, I was like, I don't think she'd be happy with 2:26. Like, this is the Olympic bronze medalist we're talking about. 2:21:20 right now for a pace, like, that's, I believe, a personal best. So like she's obviously feeling good and wants something out of today, more so than just simply getting on base with a walk or a drop fly in the outfield.
Folks, we have a lead change in the women's elite race. Sifan Hassan has 2 steps on Ruth Chepengedich right now.
Putting her under pressure.
Yeah.
How?
No, I think it's more like why, right? Like
Why? Yeah.
You have someone is just going for it. So maybe there's a conversation.
Maybe this is the drama. This is the drama that Sifan Hassan wants to bring to this one.
She knows that she's stretching at mile 14, and she's like, if I can just buy 15 seconds for a good hamstring stretch, then we can run it in together.
It's kind of cool. Like at this point in the race, like you see the course start to wake up a little bit. Like, yes, there are people downtown at the start and whatnot, but then as you go north, like that entire stretch up, like the masses aren't out cheering on their people yet. So what we're seeing now is, because that entire stretch up is only 1 block from where they are right now, anybody who caught their people that were, going through mile 4 and might have already passed there, now they're starting to move over to Wells Street, and like people will, absolutely be like filling up these bars in the next half hour. And we start early in Chicago, and they'll be filling up the bars and like waiting for the people to come by. So it gets really fun in this area. So like now we're starting to like for the elites to get a little bit of that enthusiasm on the course. And then obviously once they get a little bit further in the race and like everyone's awake, it stays fun. But you know, those first few miles you run through Lincoln Park and you're actually in the park, you're away from the residential areas. So now they get to run through those spots where a little bit more energy and I think that's one of the parts of the major marathons that makes them stand out from some of the other fast races that are out there, but they don't have, you know, 1 million plus people lining the course.
This is awesome because Safan, they're just going back and forth right now, but Safan generally isn't an athlete that like runs with other runners. She runs her own race all the time. Like a lot of times in marathons, it's like, all right, we're going to run the first like 35K together and then we're going to start racing. Safan is all race all the time. And so like, that is not a joined effort between those two. I don't think at all. So I'm absolutely loving her battling for the win right now.
Safan Hassan gets bored very easily in this sport. Like that's why she's, you know, dabbled in the marathon. And she said, like, anytime I line up for a long distance race, I'm like, why am I doing this? So to see her try, you know, take the lead just before the halfway point, it's like, you know what? Maybe she's impatient. She's like, I just want to get this over with.
Yeah, it's one way to run the marathon. Just get it over with.
Yeah.
You see the wheelchairs, Marcel out like gonna finish 10 minutes ahead of second place, I think, just like absolutely blitzing right now. But it's kind of crazy, like when you see the wheelchairs go and you're like, you know, they go 15 minutes before, but they finish an hour before.
Yeah. 20K splits up for the elite men. Kelvin Kiptoon crosses in 57:39. They're gonna approach the halfway point very soon. That's currently 2:01:37 pace. Daniel Matejko right on his heels with him. Yeah, so it's slowed down a little bit, but again, Kelvin Kiptoon closes races really, really hard.
Yeah, in London he closed in 59:45. So extrapolate that right now. We're doing all right.
Well, and at what point would you expect to see him start that acceleration?
I think like nothing crazy is going to happen while the rabbit is there, right? Like you want to keep him in it. You want to use him as long as possible. I think at some point, I'm hoping Matejko's still there for as long as possible. And like it's a race on his hand, and it's not just a matter of Matejko falling off, but Kiptum saying, I'm going to go win this now. And then, you know, continuing though, like look right now, Kiptum's in front of the rabbit. Like I guess why have the rabbit there if you're not going to use him? So maybe we do see him move a little bit earlier, but the rabbit is surging a little bit more back and forth. And, you know, Matejko is just keying off Kiptum. He seems almost like he's impatient. Like he wants to go, which is, you know, as long as he doesn't do it too early, isn't a bad mindset to be in.
I actually love this part of the course. A lot of people on this at the halfway point.
Dude, Matejko's stride's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Matt, you were asking about a form check. Like, he's got a nice long lope to him. Like,
and he's swaggy. He's got the headband.
Yeah, he's a little Kung Fu Kenny going.
Oh, we got the American men through 20K. Well, and the leaders now through the half. Kelvin Kiptoon hitting the halfway point in 60:48. So the pace are actually a little slower than the assignment. So that's 2:01:36 pace. The American men are about 5 minutes behind that. So let's see. We've got Mance is now at 2:06:30 pace with a good pack of people. You got some Japanese runners in there. Galen Rupp is in there. Daniel Messman is in there. Sam Chalenga's in there. Clayton Young clawing his way to join that group. So these are going to get interesting in the second half.
Ruth and Safan just keep switching off.
Keeps it interesting.
Are we down to 2? Men. Down 2 men. Rabbit has stepped off.
The Rabbit said, I've had enough of this.
Made it halfway.
Wow, 57:39.
Time to race.
At 20K. This feed might be a little bit behind.
That splits behind. They did come through.
Yeah, they came through the half.
Where's
It was
my-
60-48.
A couple of people in the chat wondering, how is it you guys are watching the races? Like, there's commercials on the local feed. We're watching on the international feed right now.
Oh, that's the secret.
The secret is international feed, and if you're in the U.S., get a VPN. Set your location to one of the countries that you can watch it on, and then it doesn't seem like there's commentary, so it's fine. You can listen with us.
It's actually really good for us that there's no commentary if you think about it.
I see that we've got 2,300 people in the chat right now and just watching with us. So thanks for joining us right now, watching on the CITIUS Mag watch party live from the Bandit Running Shop. Shout out to Bandit for supporting all of our coverage throughout the weekend. If you guys aren't familiar, they're an emerging brand out of New York City, based in Brooklyn. Kyle, you've run in their product for like over a year now.
Their stuff is some of the most elite feeling material and like kit that you'll ever put on your body. Like, you know that feeling when you look in a mirror, it's generally like the night before you're trying on, make sure your uniform still fits, and, do some strides in the hall, get the vibes going. But like really, like when you put on the Bandit stuff, like their half tights are like, if I could recommend one thing to as an entry point into the brand, if not a hat, because their hats are very nice, but their half tights are like brilliant, like really, really nice.
I put on the CITIUS Mag Bandit singlet last night and told my wife that I might have to race again. I have not run a race since 2019, and even when I ran that race, I wore a T-shirt because I was like, I'm not fit. Like, if I run really poorly, at least I'm wearing a T-shirt, and people won't think I'm taking this seriously. Yeah. So like that's been my MO. But like, I might need a race.
So just back to the race really quickly between Kelvin and Mateka. Going over the bridge, the grid, Kelvin did not want to go over the grid, like beelined it to the side.
They lay carpet down over the blue line part of the grid, and they didn't even want to go over the carpet. And the reason that I recognize that is because I saw them laying it down when I got off the train this morning. And they didn't follow the blue line there. They made a hard right, went around both of the grids, and then kept going back on the blue line.
That part of the bridge parts, it's so like, I don't know if like the super shoes are really made for that carpet. Like when I ran it 2 years ago, I was like, this feels weird. Like I might fall.
It's probably also like a little weirder when there's nobody else there, right? Like I think you feel a little more comfortable like in the masses because you're like, well, that person is also running on what I'm running. When you're the person leading it, you're like, I'm going to stick with what's under my feet right now. Probably easier to like keep a rhythm than running on those like grates with red carpet over it.
One last plug, guys. Visit banditrunning.com and use code CITIUS15 for 15% off. We were getting some compliments in the YouTube chat. People are saying Bandit shorts are heart eyes emoji. Bandit's 10 out of 10. So if you haven't tried it out, see it for yourself. Banditrunning.com, code CITIUS15. Back to the race. We've got halfway splits for the American men. Mance, still on pace, 206.40. Galen Rupp right on his heels. Let's talk a little bit about Wesley Kiptoo in that pack as well, making his marathon debut for NAZ Elite. So, yeah, I mean,
Sam Chalinga is there. Wait,
Sam Chalinga versus Galen Rupp.
What year is it?
Yeah. Like I was about to say, 20 years later, it hasn't been that long.
I was like
Sam Chalinga, 2012 NCAAs through, I think 2012 was like the Chris Derrick, maybe. No? It was a little earlier than that.
A little earlier than that.
It was like 2009. He went out in like 2:30 for the first K.
That checks out. Yeah.
But Sam, this is a guy who, Chris, I always like when we talk to Sam because you hear about some of the stuff that he's doing in the Army.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's able to every now and then, like it seems like some races he comes in which he was super busy, like fully in the Army. Like he does some really, really intense stuff. And then other times it's like he's able to get away a little bit more and like carve out some time for training. And like if you look at him, you can kind of probably path out when work is heavy and when it's a little bit lighter. And based off the fact that he's going out in 63:20, I think he might have had a lighter couple months.
He was a late entry into this one.
I love the late entries because it's like, why are you a late entry? And it's oftentimes because something's clicking and you're like, I got to find a race.
Women's halfway splits.
What are they talking to each other about right now? Like,
What are your
what could it
lunch plans?
possibly be?
What do you have going on later?
Yeah,
Lunch plans?
there's no turn coming up. There's like, it's just, I guess when there's no rabbit left and you have half of a race to go, you've got to lean on somebody, and kind of discuss. But it is kind of funny to see that.
We have halfway splits for the women.
Halfway splits for the women. Ruth Chepngetich, Sifan Hassan hit the halfway point in 105.42. Mine isn't updating, so I'm like 46. No, 105.42. That means they are currently at 2:11.23 pace. Roberto Alemu, Ethiopia, who you picked as your dark horse, is currently in third and 2:14, leading that chase pack with Joycelyn Shep-Kazgai and Abebel Kishane from Ethiopia.
I guess really quickly about Merber Alema, and she was kind of
Here comes the carpet.
a little bit of no woman's land, but I think has now teamed up with Abebel Yashane. But the reason why Merber Elmu was my dark pick, which is not fair because it's not like she's someone that people aren't. It's not like she's never been here before, but she was second in London to Sifan Hassan. So if we're talking about whether or not Sifan can win this or break a world record, then it's only fair that the woman who was with her until the very end is also, given some respect. But she's run 2:18 on multiple occasions. She won Seville in 22. So she's looking good.
Ruth Chepngetich and Sifan Hassan have just swallowed up Nick Iacofano from Tracksmith. We should drink a little Olipop for every American man that
Pour some out.
that they passed.
Also, just like you're still on pace to be in that 2:11 range. It's a fascinating thing. I think Chepngetich, though, talked about going out a little slower than last year, 2 seconds faster through the half. So just funny to see it that way, where you're like, oh yeah, maybe she was thinking negative split. No, just hard from the first half. Hang on as long as you can.
I love the chat. Now everyone's like, where's the international feed? And now they're discussing what countries to set their locations to using VPN. So stay with us, though, for the alternate commentary.
Yeah, I don't think we're geo-blocked.
No, yeah. So we picked we're currently set in a different location. Let me just say, we're with Mitch Dyer right now.
The fact that Ruth has done this before, it really it's just what to expect, right? And I feel like for her to watch someone go and take the world record 3 weeks before that she clearly wanted, throw some fire in the stove. Is that a saying? The fire on the oven, flames. What is
I don't know
it?
if there's a saying, but I understand what you are
Stoke
trying
the
to
fire?
express.
Yeah,
Something
get
like
fired
that.
up. I'd be like, I'm training, I'm starting my taper, and if someone's breaking the world record that I wanted, your job just got so much harder.
Well, I was thinking that for a little while, right? I was like, okay, the world record got 2 minutes faster. That's got to play some mind games. The world record is still slower than if she just runs even halves, right? If she just held on to what she ran last year. So I don't think her plan changes. She's just like, I just have to hold on a little bit better than I did a year ago. So I was kind of thinking that same thing. And yes, her job did get way harder, but I don't think it changed her strategy at all, which is crazy.
So did we go through the women's half splits yet on the American side?
On the American side, no. I was about to run through those. So we've got 3 American women have hit the halfway point. Emily Sisson and Emma Bates still dueling it out. 109.31. That currently puts them at 219.03 pace. So they're accelerating a little bit. It's going to be good. Molly Seidel right behind them. She just split 70.47. So she's on 221 pace still. So just clicking away.
I kind of love that Emily and Emma are just running this together. Like it was built up as this match, but they're just good friends.
Yeah. They're also two of the nicest people in the world.
Yeah. Also, yesterday on the Bandit CITIUS shakeout run, we just saw Emily doing her shakeout just by herself on the lakefront. Just, looked great doing it. But it's just such a fun part of running and just the sport that like the star would just be out on their own as thousands of people are passing her on her easy run. I don't know. It's just like, that's the unique thing about marathon, right? Is that you get to start at the same time as the pros. And I guess you have to shake out in the same spots too.
So now I don't see Stefan Hassan up there. There's a little buzz in the chat and also on Twitter that may have gotten dropped. I just think she's taking a timeout.
Yeah.
She's just taking a timeout, guys. It's fine.
I would say that it would need to be a significant time differential between the two before I count Stefan out. Given last year, the fact that Ruth, did not end up running 2:11, and the fact that Stefan fell off multiple times in London, was able to come back, I need to see a minute between them before I stop thinking that Stefan's in it.
What do you think, Sarah? You think she's done?
I don't think so. I think, Stefan is relatively new to this event, and there's, of course, a learning curve with every single event. I would imagine, perhaps more so with the marathon than in the shorter distances. And it could just be a situation of Stefan, wanting to conserve energy and wanting to feel under control and know that there is more there. So I would say not done at this point. Definitely not done.
Glad no one here is hitting the panic button on Hassan just yet.
Talking about the American women half splits, I just wanted to do a quick look. So when Emily ran 2:18:29, she came through in 69:26. So 5 seconds in a marathon, like that's almost dead even.
Yeah.
So she's like spot on what she ran a year ago. So kind of, I think that's a really good sign for what would come in the back half, that she's been here before. It's not like they've gone out at some pace that's like kind of out there. And I mean, we talked about it before, like Emma, we think she's very capable of this pace as well. It's just more a matter of, when she finished second in Chicago, she was racing, and now she's racing and gets the opportunity to race just in a race that's probably going to finish somewhere in the 2:18 range between her and Emily. So really good signs for potential fireworks later on.
That was the big thing during the press conference interviews with both Emma and Emily, is that they didn't want to explicitly say that they were going after the American record. They wouldn't give us the soundbite that we wanted. It was more so like, we're going to race, and if the record comes as a consequence of that, it'll just happen. And that's what we're seeing play out.
So we just saw on the screen Marcel Hugh won in a new course record. So we thought it was a fast day. Confirmed.
And hat tip to David Monty. He compared Marcel Hugh to Max Verstappen. Like, all this guy does is win at the majors. So I like that comparison.
Stefan Hassan and Ruth are back together.
Oh, I really want to know what happened.
It's like a celebrity couple.
I was thinking the same thing. The way that you presented
What's the
it.
nickname?
Hassan Gedich.
Talk about an inseparable couple, Kelvin Kiptoon, Daniel Matejko. These boys are basically holding hands.
Kiptako is what they're calling them on Us Weekly.
I like how now that we're getting these closer up shots, that we really get to see the Kung Fu Kenny headband on Matejko a little bit more. Like, it's a great look.
What I kind of like is the fact that it was like, for a while there was the buzz of, it was like, we want to see Kiptoon versus Kipchoge in Berlin, and then Kiptoon ends up running Chicago. I'm sure, appearance fees, Nike, that all plays a factor into how things shake out. But the NN running team was like, all right, you guys didn't get Kipchoge, but we're going to field you Daniel Matejko, and you're going to get to know this guy right away. And so,
Matejko looks fantastic. I would argue that he's the better of the two right now.
The record for fastest marathon debut is held by Kelvin Kiptoon. Was it 2:01:53 or something like that in Valencia last year? Don't get Kyle started on Valencia, by the way.
We can address this.
And Daniel Matejko is currently on pace to go faster than that by almost 20 seconds. And he didn't do it in Valencia.
During our preview show, I said that basically I was like joking that Valencia is not a real place because everyone goes there and runs fast. You know, the idea being that if you run fast when everyone runs fast, it's less valuable. Whereas when you go and run fast when everyone isn't necessarily running fast and dominate a field, then that's like really how you cement something. And my joke about Valencia not being a real place, I'm canceled in Valencia.
We have a lot of listeners from Valencia.
Spanish Twitter.
Sound off in the chat.
Spanish Twitter is not letting me back, which sucks because my family is all from Spain. And my biggest regret in my career is that I did not run for Spain.
That would have been a really tough team to
I would
make.
have Olympic rings, maybe, you know? That would be an extremely tough team to make.
People are asking in the chat, who is Mateko? 'Cause we haven't heard of him. This is his marathon debut. Runs with the NN running team, trains in Kaptagat, Kenya. I was there 2 months ago, and I watched a long run. They did a 40-kilometer long run on the Boston course, which has like crazy elevation gain, and they ran 224 for the 40K, and that's at altitude. And it was just kind of like an easy thing. Like, these guys do this every Sunday, basically. And so Mateko actually was one of the guys who really didn't like stand out to me because I was like in the presence of Kipchoge and Kim Moore, and Faith Kipyegon also did that run. She went 35K that day, so like another indicator that down the road she's gonna hit the marathon scene. And what we see with Stéphane Dasson, she's gonna be really good. But so Mateko's a newcomer on the scene. I think, you know, get ready to remember this guy's name.
Just look.
Kyle, do you want to do a quick update on like the Olympic qualifying times in the American men?
As to like how many we've got.
Yeah,
in
with
the,
like updates of where
they're in the
they're
green
on the
right
course.
now.
So currently, yeah, in terms of American men under the Olympic standard of 2:08:10, we have Connor Mantz, Galen Rupp, Sam Chalanga, Daniel Mesfin, Clayton Young. So we're looking good. We are unlocking spots.
There we go. Clap it up for the unlock.
Oh, and Frank Lara is
Just not-
starting to chug along. Andrew Colley is then he's on 2:09 flattish pace. So, you know, in terms of, we do have a lot of American men right underneath that 2:10 pace. So we are looking very good right now. Also, I just want to call out, I know that we keep saying like which pace Emily and Emma Bates are on. You know, they're looking at 2:19 flattish right now, but they're in 9th and 10th place. That means 10 women are currently on pace to run 2:19 or faster. And someone who we haven't talked about yet that deserves some recognition is Joycelyn Jepkosky. The
Former
New York
City
champ in 2019, 2022 London
former
champ,
half marathon world record holder.
has run 2:17, currently moving up in 4th place on 2:14. You know, absolutely starting to roll. She was a little bit more reserved that first 5:10K. We weren't talking about her but you know, she's coming. She's chugging along.
Folks, I think our stream right now is focused on the women's wheelchair race, which may be coming to a conclusion soon, but there's a little buzz that Stéphane Dasson is making a break for it right now. So we'll hopefully get a shot of that very soon.
Also in the women's race, Des Linden going for
we haven't even talked about that. That's
US
wild.
Masters record, about 2 minutes ahead of pace. She's you know through the half on 2:25 pace. So still a long way to go, but I mean, it's one of those ones where you're like, oh, it seems like for a runner like Des, 2:27, you know, should be there, but it's hard to make that happen just like on any given day in the marathon, because you never really know what's going to happen. So, but that's another one of those like fun underlying stories that we get to see.
Seeing what Stéphane Dasson is doing right now just kind of makes it so crazy to think like this woman was on the track 6 weeks ago, and there were some other women who were beating her in certain races that like, what are they going to do? Like, are they also potentially 2:11 marathoners?
No, she just couldn't do speed work. So
Yeah, right? Yeah, this is a little bit of a break here, unless they're coming up on a water station. It's sometimes a little deceiving. Wow, so impressive.
I mean, the Pacers look awesome. They're cruising right now.
Savannah Hassan has been training the last 6 weeks in Park City, Utah. That's, I think, where she's been based the last, 2 years. Working under Coach Tim Robery. Yep, they're dropping. They're dropping Ruth Chepengedich.
Did Stefan look behind her? Just get a little peek of what's going on.
That's wild. If you guys haven't listened to it yet or watched it, we have a one-on-one interview with Stefan Hassan from 2 days ago. It's up on the CITIUS Mag YouTube channel. We have it also on the CITIUS Mag podcast feed. I laughed a lot during it, so check that out whenever you have the time. But stay with us right now because we have some thrilling finishes coming up very soon.
So in third place, I know that we're, hyping up Kelvin and Daniel Matejko, who are now still on 2:01:38 pace through 25K. Bashir Abdi in third place. This guy shows up. So in 10 marathons that he's done in his career, the worst he's ever finished is 7th. Just so consistently on the podium. He's still waiting to win that first marathon major. He did win Rotterdam this past year in 2:03:47. I believe that's his personal best, but has just so consistently been there. He's been on the podium at global championships before. I don't, right now, looking good for a podium. We're going to need a miracle, though, if we're going to get that big marathon major win finally.
I'm just still in awe of Stefan Hassan right now. I just didn't even hear what you said because I was just starting to think about, the fact that, has anyone in history ever held both the mile world record and the marathon world record? Or we need to get intern Owen on this one to look it up.
Obviously not at the same time. But.
Definitely not at the same time. But I was just like, wow, she's going to have held two major benchmarks. When we think about how these elite athletes really burst onto the general sort of running sphere of all these mass runners, it's always the mile and the marathon that really wow people. What's your mile time? What have you run for the marathon? The fact that Stefan Hassan has been the fastest in history, potentially, if she holds on, in both of those events, I think that if she crosses the finish line, this could be a moment where she's gonna enter that stratosphere that Kipchoge has broken into already, where it's Kipchoge can go to Japan or I don't know, some random country, India, anywhere.
Did you just say India's a random country?
I'm just going through my head.
Hey, we've got a race update. Sisson's dropping baits right now.
I think
Wait, what's happening?
Sisson is dropping baits right now.
I just think Stefan Hassan's about to blow up after this.
Yeah, so
that was my whole point.
25K split. Emily Sisson put 21 seconds on Emma Bates, which that could be a aid station stop or a quick stop and stretch because that did happen pretty quickly. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see now how Emma responds at the next split.
My thing with Emily that I've always said before, and this has kind of been the talking point I've had about why people are able to run so fast or who is able to run so fast. Emily's quick. Emily's had a very successful track career before moving up to the roads. And if you're going to, negative split at 2:18, then you have to be able to make, those 5-10 miles feel relatively comfortable late in the race. And to do that, you have to have been a good 5K, 10K runner.
So I think this is for you two to talk about. I would say Sarah's career has definitely spanned the pre-Super Shoe era and Super Shoe era. You were kind of on the.
I never had.
You never got them when you were racing.
Don't include me in that. I had no Super Shoes.
So, but I think we talked a little on Friday. It seems that the Super Shoes, and there are probably some sports scientists who are out there that will have a lot to say about this. It seems like they really benefit the people that are fast. And it's probably a biomechanical thing. But how do you kind of see that? And do you think that as we move forward in the marathon, we're just going to see people stepping up from down in distances, or are we going to see the Kelvin Kiptums that are just like marathon only, a couple half marathons, couple marathons, and they just start in that space a lot younger?
Right. Yeah, that's something that you guys touched on the pre-show a little bit. And I thought was a really interesting point that Kyle made about middle distance runners, kind of giving them the foot support to, cover this long distance. But one thing that I'm not sure was pointed out before is something that I think about a lot is, one of the major skills of being an excellent marathon athlete is simply being able to put in the volume, right? Like that's a talent in itself, is being able to stay healthy through those miles. And so super shoes are able to kind of augment that and allow someone to get in 10, 20 more miles per week without so much pounding, without so many, risk of injury. And in addition to that, just the recovery component, right? When you're out training on the roads and you have kind of that super shoe foam that just allows your legs to feel better and recover better, I think that makes a huge difference in turning it around. So perhaps someone who's been, more middle distance or kind of track oriented can make that jump as a result of being supported in that way.
That's a good point. How often do Emma and Dom wear super shoes?
I think everybody's all super shoes all the time.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. They're
Love
great.
that. Yeah.
They're great to have,
Like, why would you wear okay shoes?
Yeah, exactly.
When you can wear super
exactly.
shoes.
If not for just for the name, right? For no other reason. You want to be super.
Kelvin and Daniel Matejko through 30K. Still same exact pace about as before, 2:01:41 pace. Still chatting it up. Talking to each other, feeling them out. But now, Daniel Matejko is in uncharted territory.
He's never gone this far.
He's never gone past 30K. In London, that's where he took Kelvin to before dropping out. And now they're together.
Benson Kipruto, his music is starting to play too. He's going to enter the chat very soon.
Yeah, I mean, so the gap back to behind the men leaders is 97 seconds. So that pack of four, you got four guys, including Saifu Tura, the 2021 Chicago champion. And so, these guys have to work together, try to inch and claw their way back up. Otherwise, this race is really just about the two guys up front. We got no shot of anyone else coming because you're running out of real estate. We got 7 miles to go.
We're going to see a lot of PRs today. A lot of PRs.
First time that I've looked out the window and seen any gust of wind, but then wondering now, will we get any of that coming down the last 3 miles? In a couple, maybe a week out, was asking around people who have run the course, not just people who are very familiar with the course like myself. And one of the common comments was, you really don't want a headwind at the end because the last 3 miles or so, you're just running directly into it. And that could be a huge difference in, that's made at the very end of the race.
We had a nice little sprint finish there in the women's wheelchair. It was Catherine De Bruyne held off Susanna Scaroni by 2 seconds, going 1:38:44. But, coming around that final turn, it was just can Susanna tuck in, get that final, slipstream to the finish? But there was just a little bit too much gap between them. Catherine held on.
It's a little downhill there too, which I would imagine is, it helps you defend your place when you're coming downhill in the wheelchair because, you just don't get the benefit of the push as much. So coming up, you're probably trying to make that move up the hill. And if you can't make it once you get up before you get to the top of the hill, it's going to be a little harder to close any ground.
That's a Swiss sweep.
Wow. Yeah.
Swiss sweep.
Don't think that'll happen on the men's and women's international.
Switzerland is not
side
currently
here.
looking too good on the men's and women's. But Kelvin Kiptum looking pretty damn good right now.
He's
At some point,
living up to that Mr. 201 nickname.
if he runs 2:01 again, you know who I wish was here? Evans Chavez.
Yeah.
Because, he trains with Kipruto. You know who I wish was on this couch instead of Declan? Evans Chavez.
Me too. Honestly.
No, this is only going to make the argument, I think, so much tougher. Who is the best marathoner in the world right now? Like if these guys run 2:01,
Stefan Hassan.
yeah, it could be Stefan Hassan. Who would you make the case for?
Imagine having to be the Kenyan
So the selection
who has to choose.
Well, so that's I guess to explain it to people, there is no Kenyan Olympic marathon trials in the same way that there is one for the United States. Athletics Kenya has notoriously been famous for has been notorious for just like making awful marathon team decisions. They've had it. They've gotten it past the last 2 Olympics because Kipchoge was picked. Oh
we
my
got
gosh!
the move.
And I don't see. Oh, it's a headband waving in the wind.
Oh my God.
It's Daniel Matejko pulling away.
No, it's not.
No?
That's Kiptum.
I thought I saw the headband.
They were
Kiptum
showing
is sprinting right
They were
now.
showing the back. They were showing Matejko.
Okay, so I was
Kiptum
right.
was off screen. Yeah.
Oh God!
The
is
helicopter could not
crazy.
keep up with this move right now. So we are 92 minutes into the race. You've got to think that there's less than 30 minutes less of running right now. And Kelvin Kiptum has shifted gears.
He's just passing. That's a 3-run-2.
Yeah,
This is
that's
what I was
true.
saying. I
Yeah.
said this earlier, Mac, that he has two versions of his form. What we saw earlier and this.
This is the
Although,
sit and kick method I was
I
talking
think
about.
he's starting to settle. He's looking back behind, seeing if that was decisive or not to get away from Matejko, and he's still running quicker than he was 3 minutes ago, but that initial 400,
That's one of the hardest moves I've ever seen in a marathon.
That was
just
decisive.
that was a
insane.
Yeah.
62. I mean, that's
Yeah.
not an official split. That's an eyeball test.
We only saw 100 meters of it. But this is an interesting piece though. They're coming up on the only really drastic turn in this race, and it absolutely crushes your stride. Like it's almost like a 180 that they'll make, and it's a really smart move here to try and put some ground out before you get there. I mean, that is insane that he's done this in the last half mile. But as we come down and he'll make a left turn here, like it's just a hairpin turn that's really, really awkward and a really fun place to cheer. But it does make for a space where you're going to break stride and you're going to have to get back into it.
I know they do some course prep, but how insane is it to like make a move like this on a course you've never run before, like at this pace?
Well,
it's crazy.
I mean, I think Kelvin Kiptum
He just
knows
works
this
off.
course pretty well. Based
I think
off
so
of
too.
The way he's been running,
He keeps looking back.
now he knows. I think that this is his race to lose. Like he's won this race, and it's about to become about time.
That was mile 20.
Yes, exactly at 20. So here's the hairpin turn, and it's awkward.
Okay, they were already running 2:01:40 pace. Like what?
What is this?
crushed
What
that
is
turn.
this?
What is this? This is going to be. We might see, dare I say, 2-hour pace.
Kelvin Kiptum, officially an athlete. Did you see that turn? The way he
guys,
navigated it. Declan was making a big deal about the turn, and then Kelvin was like,
Apparently,
Nah.
When
so
you see the
I play
packs,
ball.
when
So-
you see the packs, like people will grab the light pole and swing on it. Like it's that sharp of a turn, and he just was like, "No, like I've got this."
okay, our feed didn't get this, but apparently Stefan Hassan missed her bottle, then went back to go get it.
no.
Yeah,
It's not a stop, but you know,
it's still drama.
two hands.
Wow. And then shared her drink, apparently.
All right, we're like a mile from the finish. Are the people walking
I don't
towards
know.
the finish line going to get there before Kiptum? That's the race I want to know.
It's
People
got to
kind
be
of speed walking.
It's got to be so tough to like
is
for
crazy.
Kelvin Kiptum fans to be running around this course to catch him from point to point. Like we've had some conversations of how you should watch, a 3:30 marathoner. You can, they're
You can
going
catch
this
him 5
pace,
times.
This is how long you
Yeah.
can get them 5 different times, and it's like, all right, well, Kelvin's family, they better have Lime scooters, and those I don't think go fast enough. You're gonna see him a couple times, maybe.
Yeah, they have a 15-mile-an-hour governor in Chicago, so like you're not going that much faster.
Yeah.
You
Can't
really
even
gotta play
break
catch up.
4.
This part of the course, Declan, there's a little hill that's coming up right here, right? Like,
Yeah, as you kind of it's the bridge that goes over the highway.
Yeah,
guess,
I
is a
hated
little
this
bit.
part of the
So-
course.
So there is a little bit, but I would say it's insignificant if you train on hills, But if you live in Chicago, like it's like earth shattering to have to run over anything. I mean, when we trained in college, we would run and we'd like add on in a parking garage just to get like some level of elevation in your legs. So you might like start or finish a run in a parking garage because there was just no other way. Or you would hit the one hill at Montrose. You would like go over the hill 5 times in the middle of a run, just so that way you experience what it was like to run up a hill.
421 mile split. That's when Kiptum made his move at 20 miles.
62 actually might not be wrong because he settled back into probably his 430 something pace there. So like may have actually dropped to 62 or at least like a 30-200.
Crazy. Oh my God. Yeah, it's just insane. So I mean, like I'm waiting for this.
I mean,
35
yeah. Now
clip
we're
because-
just the speculated finish time is getting to be pretty crazy here.
I mean, he's gonna get close to that world record.
Yeah, it was 2:01:41 at
2:01
30K
yeah.
was what it was telling us. So we'll see when he hits 35. But
Man,
I've never seen a move like that in a marathon.
no, I almost threw up. So nasty. Let's see. I did 30K splits before. Again, the American men are still bunched up together in 206 place. We've got 3 spots unlocked right now for the trials. So that's good. Sisson and Bates and Molly Seidel 30K splits? I don't have that on mine.
Yeah, so Sisson just under 219 pace now.
Okay.
Yeah, 138.47 through 30K. Is that right? Yeah, 138.47. So we'll see Emma and Molly how they've kind of moved up once they hit that 30K split.
I mean, it's sprint day. No. We're waiting on a Emma Bates split shortly. Unless Declan's computer gets it first.
And at the between the half and 25K, it was, it was like a pretty big change for her. We saw, over the span of 12 minutes, she lost 21 seconds. So
It was a
we'll see if she was able to kind of resettle
Miles.
into that pace.
Might have been a 62.
yeah, that's what we were just saying. Yeah.
Sorry, I just ran. I had to go talk to Kelvin Kiptum's coach. He said he's feeling good.
Oh my gosh.
Kind of crazy that Galen might get a PB out of this.
That is crazy.
Isn't that kind of crazy? I mean,
Yeah.
if he keeps trucking on, he's projected time right now 2:06:41. That's kind of.
I can't believe how many Americans right now are just like.
This is the breakthrough we've been waiting for.
It's a thing that we know that they've been capable of for so long, and they just haven't done yet.
This kid trying to keep up with Kelvin Kiptum through Chinatown is just, I was hoping he would trip and fall.
We got dim sum here yesterday.
Yeah, we did. Want to talk about what we got? A little bit of everything, right?
We got a little bit of everything, but we were joined by our dear friend Allie on the run.
Allie will be at the finish line, shouting out the runners from 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Great to see her out here.
So Declan, this is the part of the course.
This is the loneliest part of the
one
course.
hill.
Oh,
that's
35K
like happens in the
split
middle of
coming
the
in.
course Chris was talking about. But yeah, I'm just like, I need to see the 35K split.
35K split. He is now in 2-hour marathon pace. He is sub 201 right now. He's
Let's
2
go.
flat 59 pace. So in 2017 or 16 it was, Nike orchestrated the whole Breaking 2 project. Kelvin Kiptum was like, you don't have to do that for me. I'm just going to go and try and do this. Like Kipchoge ran 2 flat 25 at that one. Kipchum's only going to be 30 seconds off with all the variables here. Not
I'm
the
like-
flattest course.
Blown away right now. It's not even like he had an army of pacers. He had one guy for halfway with KT tape on.
I guess, yeah, to discuss his form a little bit and how it compares to Eliud Kipchoge. Kipchoge's so smooth. Kiptum is in a aggressive racer. Those arms, he's so aggressive.
You can tell when, I think what Chris was trying to say is that when Kipchoge moves, it's a little bit more like you don't even realize how, whereas like when Kipta moves, it's aggressive. Like it is violent. And if he breaks this world record, then Chris, people are going to know who he is in Japan.
Daniel Matejko has slowed down a bit.
In random places.
Yeah. Daniel Matejko has slowed down a bit to 2:01:59. So he might be feeling it a little bit. But we all would be if we were running that fast. His facial expressions are a little interesting here. He's gritting his teeth.
It's the first time he's made any, though.
Huffing
right?
and puffing.
This is when you would expect him to after 22 miles, but like he was expressionless through the first half beyond expressing to the rabbit like where to run because he seemed to be the only one who knew. Also, the first time he's not running on the blue line.
He's like, to the rabbit, were you not at the technical meeting yesterday? It's the blue line. You need to follow it.
Okay, so it was 13:51 from 30K to 35K.
Oh my God. The way I describe the way he's running right now is like, I hope there's enough room left. Like there's not, because he's running in such a way that it's not like he's grinding through pain. He's like grinding like he can't
Needs
possibly go
truck
this
wrap.
fast.
Mile 22 is 4:18.
You ran a 4:18? It seems like, you know, like when you're doing over like
stop
getting
it.
pulled by the bungee and you're like, oh wow, I
Over
didn't,
speed training.
Like, I don't know if my body can run this fast. Like that's what I feel like he's doing. Like he feels so good and his legs just have to move so quick right now. I can't. This is beautiful to watch.
I can't imagine that you run a 4:18 mile unless you think you can finish at the 4:30 pace already that you're running. So, I mean, that's insane. But yeah, once you hit mile 23, you do a quick kind of like U-turn, and then you're 2 miles straight into the finish. So,
Yeah, there's quick update from the 30K, which feels like it's so far away compared to where Kelvin Kiptum is. Emma Bates, 2:20:26 pace right now. She crossed the 30K in 1:39:51. Molly Seidel, a minute or so behind, hit 30K in 1:40. She's on 2:21 pace. Both gunning for some PBs there. The American men are still all together. We're going to see a couple sub 207s, hopefully, if this holds up.
So Emily, Emma, and Molly are in 7:8:9 right now. Also, dude, just want to say, like, the other Americans behind them are crushing as well. Dakota Lindworm is on 2:23 pace. Tristan Van Ord is on 2:24 pace. Maggie Montoya is on 2:24. Gabriella Rucker is on 2:24 pace. Like, up and down, U.S. is just on fire right now, having a good one.
I didn't realize it.
Oh.
Trevor, pull your chair up over here. I'm going to share my mic
Kyle,
with you.
Kind of cool to see Galen Rupp and Connor Mance out there together running 2:06 pace. You know, just two completely different generations here, just gunning for the top American
yeah,
spot.
together, but now like there is actually a little bit of a gap. Mance is in 8th, came through on 2:06:47 pace, and Galen came through on 2:07:17 pace. So he's kind of dropped off that PR pace through 35K. But that's the first time that they haven't been next to each other at a split. So, I mean, still some room for Galen to try and like claw back some of that. But yeah, Galen now in 11th.
A few years between Connor and Galen's NCAA championships.
Just a couple. Real quick, we might only have 15 minutes left in this men's lead race, but we have a friend of the program joining us here at the Bandit pop-up shop. The one and only Trevor Bassett, who's on husband duty out here at the Chicago Marathon.
Championship medalist in the 400 hurdles, here to weigh in on
the Kelvin Kiptum. What do you think?
Everybody wants to hear is a sprinter talking about the marathon. It's crazy. I mean, I walked 2 miles to like find my way back here, and I was cold and tired in jeans and a flannel, so I can't imagine what that has to feel like.
How's Harley looking out there?
She's great. Her goal pace through half was 127 to 128. She went 126.30, but she told me, direct quote, if she's faster or slower than that, she might be in danger. So we'll see. I'm sure she'll do great. She's on personal best pace, so that's exciting.
So is Kelvin Kiptum.
So is Kelvin Kiptum.
Kelvin Kiptum, Harley Bassett, both potentially running personal bests. It's equal, right?
Really is. Oh man. I mean, it's the perfect day.
Yeah, and is there some element of I don't know if this is being communicated to anyone else, but I know that if I was running this race and I heard how fast they were running up front, I'd get kind of fired up and be like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
Course is running fast.
Oh, I mean, I experienced this in 2017, New York City Marathon. I was making the final turn into the park in just absolute pain, and then I just see on the board that Shalane Flanagan won, and that's all I needed to really get me through that last little bit. So,
Sifan Hassan, they're showing her. Sarah, what are we seeing?
We are seeing Sifan Hassan flying, looking super relaxed still at this point.
It's so impressive. Trevor, you were on the same warm-up track as this woman a couple of weeks ago.
I don't know if I deserve to be now watching this.
And what have you done in the last 6 weeks?
What have you done in the last 6 weeks?
I ate an entire cookie cake in 2 days. Yeah, that's really like my big accomplishment for the last couple of weeks.
And she's about to break a world record.
Well, so Sifan at 30K, she was on 2:12.13 pace, so 20 seconds short of what she would need. We're going to see that 35K split pop up here really soon, give us a better idea, especially also the distance between her and Ruth. See if Ruth still has a fighting chance here in order to pull out the win, but not seeing her on screen.
Kiptum looking down at his watch for the first time. I think in London, I overheard this during the press conference. Apparently, like, he just didn't believe what he was looking at his watch, so he just tossed the watch, like took it off and just tossed it off to the side. Today he's looking down and he's doing it. He's at sub 201 pace. This is just crazy.
I can't believe he ran a 4:18.
4:18. Like, there's high school kids out there watching who's like, I want to do one of those.
What's the fastest mile split we think that someone's ever run in a marathon?
Someone, I think, kind of pointed out. Donacimento, I think, holds that record on First Avenue. I think he did like 4:16 or something like that.
All right, well, this one's not over.
This one's not over, yeah. He wants to snag every record today. I mean, I'd have to look and see, right? What's the world 35K record? He may have broke that.
One of the most important records.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's a world best at 35K, not a record.
So this is just a good one. Through 35K, 11 U.S. men under 2:10 pace.
Let's go.
Let's go. Unlocking those points.
Should we name them so we give some love?
Yeah, go for it.
So
Read 'em
Connor Mance, Galen Rupp, Clayton Young, Frank Lara, Andrew Colley, Brian Schrader, Matt McDonald, Kevin Silvano, and Joel Reichow. I don't know how to say Joel's last name. Sorry, Joel. But all of them under 2:10 pace right now. And it's that 2:11.30 is the real key number too. So probably quite a few more in that place.
Wow, I love our supporters and viewers. I mean, I threw out like, oh, that must be a world record. It was not. 35K world record split is 140.10. He just split 140.22. So he didn't get it.
All right. Kelvin Kiptum, 2 flat, 47 pace through 23 miles. So I would say, if we're being fair, it looks like he's hurting. I think 5 minutes ago, it was a little less painful. He doesn't seem to be slowing down significantly in any way, but it's hurting, which is okay because there's 10 minutes left.
Yeah, Sarah, what do you think first?
I think we're seeing it on his face, but thankfully not in his body language, right? Like, he still looks, to my eye, relaxed, relaxed stride, relaxed arms, relaxed shoulders. I think maybe we'll have cause for concern if we start to see that tension creep in. But right now it's, he's expressing that he's uncomfortable with his facial expressions, but not so much with body language.
Yeah, and this is where Hassan is right now, is where we like first saw him grit his teeth. So I think this is 35K. But you kind of go up over that hill, you go down under a bridge, and then you have to come back up. And that was the first place that we saw it from him. And it was almost like that downhill where you start getting pulled a little bit, and it does feel awkward. And yeah, now you get like a good close up look at him. His teeth are definitely gritting hard, but yeah, I mean, I don't think he's running 4:18 pace still, but I do think he's still running really fast.
All right, so Sifan Hassan, 35K split, 150.17, 212.57. So the pace is slowing down.
I mean, they're hurting.
They are hurting.
Okay, so if
30
Hassan and Chepengedich are going to start faltering here a little bit, who do you think ends up in cleanup duty that ran a smart, I guess, Chip Kosgei, but she's too far back, I think. 3 minutes behind.
So right now there's 31 seconds between Hassan and Ruth. So, like, that's pretty
Doable.
significant.
I think doable. If she's
But
really
it's
hurting.
opening up. That's
Yeah.
the
Okay.
difference. Is like,
Oh, they're
that's-
both. They're both going backwards.
so 5K ago there's only a 10-second differential. So
But this is exactly how Ruth ran it last year, right? So like, are we seeing Ruth falling on like the same pace, or is that more like Hassan is falling into that 214 range, which is probably where we're going?
can we just all agree that if Sifan runs 213, that we're not going to be disappointed? Right?
that?
Like, if she runs 213, we need to still celebrate it and not just let 211 outlier ever take away from the fact that she's doing something insanely impressive right now, something that up to 3 weeks ago we would have never seen someone do.
Yeah.
And the way they did it as well, just going out in 65-42 for that first half, they're holding on and willing to risk it all, but doing it successfully.
That was an athletic bottle grab
I
too. We
saw
talked
that.
about that turn, like what a snag. And just very nonchalant, like throwaway. Like I like him a lot.
What's his personality like? Is he? What's he do
he's
for
a little,
fun?
He's a little quieter. At least in the interviews that he's done. He's a killer when it comes to racing. These shots, I mean, I love this angle where you get him from the side and you just see how wide he's opening up the stride. The hands are dropping, looking down at the watch.
And the perspective of just how fast this is, right? Chris, to your earlier point, it's easy to watch someone who's so excellent. They make it look relatively easy, right? But 418, 430 pace, he is moving.
I think that was the 40K mark that he just passed. All right. See you, Trevor. 40K split. Oh, my goodness. This man is projected to finish in 2 hours and 39 seconds. So he split 154.23. He's got 2K to go. Projected finish right now, 2 hours and 39 seconds. The Kipchoge breaking 2 thing was 2 hours and 25 seconds. So, I mean, this is going to be the closest we've ever come to a sub 2 hour marathon in a record eligible course.
Well, I'm like very biased as a longtime Chicago resident at this point, but the first time I ever watched a marathon was when Sammy Wanjiro broke the world record here. So in my mind, Chicago is the fastest marathon in the world. And like, no matter what's happened in Berlin or London, like it or Valencia, like it will not change for me. And now I just get to like, I guess it's like 14, 15 years later, I get to like convince myself that I've been right all along, even though like Berlin's been telling me that I have been wrong. So Kelvin Kiptum, though, just absolutely smashing it.
I need a mile split on that last one. I don't think it was another 4:18.
So Kelvin Kiptum with this will win the London Marathon,
Valencia,
the Chicago Marathon.
That's
Where do we see him go next?
well, I'm sure he's going to get a big appearance fee to return to London. That's just kind of what happens typically.
Well, we've got the Olympic Marathon, so I wonder if we're going to see him before then.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on sort of like
Boston?
Also, there's a lot of money to be made
Oh,
if
now
you
she's
don't
alone.
run the Olympic marathon.
Yeah.
And that's another big question is like, do you forego that? Because
So to your point, I agree with you, Declan. I think like the way it's going to potentially shake out after this is Kipchoge's going to go for the Olympic marathon, try and win the 3rd gold. That opens up Kiptum to go to Berlin next year, try and break the world record there.
He's already got
But he's
the world
going to already
record.
have the world record here.
He's got to win. He's got to beat
collect the
Kipchoge.
appearance fees. Yeah, you do have that. That is,
You think
the next boss.
That's
You've
the
got,
final
you know,
boss. You can beat his time. You got to beat him man to man.
Wow.
I can't believe how good he is at this sport.
And how new he is. He's only officially 23.
So I was trying to play the odds by taking Benson Kipruto just because I was like, Kiptum hasn't
Here
had
comes
a
the
bad race
apology.
yet. So yeah, like, I mean, I'm glad he didn't. I was just, I think it's one of those things where you're like, okay, like now you start to wonder, will he ever have a bad race?
When was the last time you were this in awe watching someone in the marathon?
Yeah, so it looks like here either Daniel Mateko's really struggling or he may have dropped out. Benson Kipruto's now 2nd place, Bashir Abdi in 3rd. So your podium is just star-studded right now.
Well, to my point earlier of saying like beating people decisively being a very important aspect in rating someone, he's winning by over 3 minutes. So he's
Half a mile ahead of the
like,
next guy.
he's not-
Oh, it's so crazy.
It's actually
Chris,
like
sit
way
down, it's
more,
way more
than half a mile.
You know,
It's a half mile per mile for me.
There's way more. He is destroying a field in which maybe no one else runs under 204. This isn't like he breaks the world record and everyone else is running 201, 202. Like he is crushing everyone.
Oh, man.
I'm
kind of upset I'm not out there. Of course, everyone's running fast today.
Everyone-
Everyone is
yeah.
running fast.
Kelvin Kiptum. I have not been this in awe of someone in so long. This is truly unbelievable. Like
So
the way he did it too. That's the thing that gets me is it was not with an army of pacers. It wasn't even a race until the end or something. Like he did so much of this on his own. He was in front of the pacers. He was conducting
comes the
everything
hill.
the entire time.
this is the famous hill where Sammy Wanjiru broke Kebede, I believe it was, and won the race. So, like, if there's any time that he's going to add on right now, it's on this, but he's not slowing down. To think we're at 1:59 into this race and it's about to end, it's bananas to me. And before this race ends, 400 meters to go. If you enjoyed this, smash that subscribe button on the CITIUS Mag YouTube channel. We've got more than 3,500 people watching right now with us. So thanks for joining us. This is crazy.
Kelvin Kiptum is at top of the hill.
Final turn and into the home stretch.
We saw him become the fastest debut marathoner of all time when he won in Valencia. He goes on to London, wins his first world marathon major, and he comes here to Chicago to solidify his legacy as the fastest marathoner of all time. Kelvin Kiptum is going to dip under the previous world record of 2:01:09. How far under will he go?
Kelvin
Kisses the
Kiptum.
crowd.
Wow.
Oh, he is fired up. Let's go.
Wow. I mean, banging his chest, the salute.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
Incredible. Wow.
Oh, the leap into the arms.
Gary Pinkowski, executive director of the Chicago Marathon.
He's like,
just-
oh my God, I should have
Oh
done
my gosh.
that is amazing.
Wow. Absolutely
that.
incredible.
Official time, or unofficial finish time, 2 hours and 35 seconds.
Oh my God.
The fastest marathon. Oh my God.
Incredible.
Like he gets to wait for some people. Look at him. He's standing on his feet.
Dude, you're going to be looking for
Oh,
one for-
victory lap.
Victory
No
lap is
way.
crazy.
Oh my gosh.
This is wild. We just witnessed history.
Wow.
On a record-eligible course, the world record is now sniffing.
And you
2
wonder,
hours.
like, are you going to get in the way if you go on this victory lap? He's so far ahead.
He's got
that
so much time.
He's just not in the way at all.
Kyle,
Like you gotta. Oh
to
my
your point,
gosh.
like
That's his agent right
also
there.
massive move in the second half to make this all happen. Like that was one of the biggest or the biggest move we've ever seen in a marathon.
I mean,
And it happened in a 2 flat race. That's insane.
he obviously broke 60 the second half. Just the way it unfolded was so incredible. Like it's not just about running fast. He did it himself. Like he was fully in charge of this race from the very beginning.
I love the agent celebration. Like you're just like the dollar signs.
Yeah.
15%. Like,
And obviously the Chicago Marathon Organizing Committee absolutely fired up about the fact
I think this is the 6th time now that the world record has been broken here.
yeah, this is awesome. I mean,
Oh,
They've been celebrating for 4 minutes and no one else has even
rightfully
crossed
so.
the finish line.
And here's the thing, like we saw a few years back when Galen won, I think people were like, oh, like the Chicago Marathon went out and they put on this amazing race with the intention of like, hey, they wanted to get an American to win and they wanted to make a really competitive American race because there was so much competition for these other world marathon majors. Back on top now as like the place to race. Like this year, the international field, the names that were on here, the times that were on here, we were talking about it Friday. Like it was surreal to see that many runners with faster times than Galen Rupp, right? Like all these 204 guys. And when you go and you run the world record on the course, it was the first and second fastest women's times until a week ago. And now, fastest men's time ever.
What's the Nike marketing campaign after this? Because now the goal is you got to build this guy up. He just did something that no one's ever done. Kipchoge is obviously a huge star. Now we've got the new young blood coming in. What's the move? Like, how do we get this to transcend beyond everyone who's watching right now? That's the challenge.
This is
the two of them together,
this
right?
is crazy. You get to run.
Yeah.
You're running in with the runner-up finisher. We've never seen that before. Wow. Yeah. What do they?
do? How do we make sure that everyone knows his name?
I think you got to do
after
another
this?
sub-2 attempt, right?
I mean, it'd be like a sub 158 attempt if he was on that course.
Yeah, it's sort of like how far under will he go?
I think it's a record eligible sub 2.
Yeah.
Is what you want to see.
Yeah, I mean,
204.02 for Benson Kipruto, which is, came back as last year's champion, finishes second.
204.02.
Dude, that was awesome. All right, what is happening behind? Because now at this point,
Well, so apparently Clayton Young has moved into second as second American. So as we kind of hinted on our pre-show, it's like the Manson and Young are going to be could be 1-2, and I think it might shake out that way.
so we set the over/under of American men under 208.10 at 1.5, and it's going to be very close.
Yeah, they're right now. Manson and Young on pace. Chalanga 6 seconds behind pace with 2K to go. So Bashir Abdi 204.32, John Courier 205.09. That's your top 4.
Another podium for Bashir Abdi. Yeah, Mance should be coming around any second now. Looking at a 207. We need Chalanga to close. Then this whole conversation is over of the rankings.
We
the
pop
spots,
some
everything.
Olipop for it for unlocking the spots.
I mean, the line was set well. We're like, we're within 2 minutes, and we still don't know how many. So I think good job from the odds makers.
Wow, Kelvin Kip.
All right.
Absolute baller.
Coordinate with David on social media duties right now, so make sure he gets this graphic up.
On the women's side, just to regroup a little bit,
Oh, here we go. See the women now.
Sifan Hassan, at 40K, she was on 2:13.33 pace and had a 31-second lead on Ruth Chepnegich. She appears to be all alone. She's got clear line to the finish, and I actually think looks a little bit more lively than she did 5K ago. I think 5K ago, the finish line seemed very far away, and now with less than 2K to go, you can visualize it.
She's very much in her wheelhouse now.
Yeah, and Sarah, I think you kind of alluded to it earlier about somebody who's not used to these distances. Like, you get that tendency, like, I think even when you like start running the 5K, start running the 10K, to fall asleep like at parts of the race. And she's been out on her own or herself in a rabbit for quite a while now. So like, there is probably some part of like waking back up into, okay, like it's almost here.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Just closing it down, trying to accelerate, each quarter mile to the finish.
This her projected time of 2:13. Where does that put her? If
She's
she
second
runs
all time.
2:13.33, that's second all time,
Second
right?
all time, yeah.
And she's about to drop 5 minutes off of her
2:14.01 is
PB.
second all time right now, yeah.
All right, Matt, get the key race alert. Dun, 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 dun. Connor Mance, 2:07.47.
One spot unlocked.
Spot.
We have one
New personal
spot.
best. 6th place.
Olympic qualifier.
Great
Oh, it's going to
race
be
for Connor
so
Mance.
close for Clayton Young.
Oh, come on.
Will his training partner be close behind him? 2:08 flat. We got
Wow.
two
Two
spots.
spots.
2 spots unlocked.
The over
Anyone?
I'm just waiting on Sam
We're waiting
Chalanga.
10 seconds. Come on. It's gonna be
No,
so close. Come on.
Come on.
Hitting refresh.
God forbid they showed us on the stream how the Americans are doing. I don't like how long it's taking.
208.50.
2:08.
But I mean, a hell of a-
for Galen Rupp. 2:08.50 for Sam Chalanga. We had 4 men under 2:09.
Oh, wait, I've been waiting to
Rupp
see the
beats Chalanga, though, at
Rupp
the
beats
line.
Chalanga by
At the
2.
line.
He definitely did. Man. And, I mean, this is going to be big for the rankings. So,
Yeah,
we're in good. We're in good shape.
I think Rupp with the last ranking from Worlds is probably fine now.
Yep. All right, back to the women's race. Ruth Chepnegich is 76 seconds behind Sifan Hassan. So Sifan Hassan just needs to hold on. I think this is first to lose it.
Kelvin does not look like he just ran the world record in the marathon. He looks like
I know.
very fresh.
Yeah. A little tired.
All right, so we should be getting 40K splits here really soon. Between Sifan and Ruth, it's 76 seconds. So it's grown. Yeah, so Sifan is not being closed down on right now. She's still opening up.
And there's, at 35K, there were 4 U.S. women in spots 7 through 10. So it was Sisson, Bates, Seidel, and Dakota Lindworm, who we haven't talked much about, but Dakota was on 2:23 pace and sitting in 10th. So they'll be coming in the next like 2 minutes or so. We'll start getting those 40K splits for the U.S. women.
Just want to remind all of our viewers at home that Sifan Hassan's training regimen is not recommended. Just because it's working for her does not mean you should run 3 races at
Not
the World
recommended by a doctor.
Championships 6 weeks before coming to the Chicago Marathon.
So
Sarah, what do you
think
make
she
of
could
this?
do if she didn't race 3 races at Worlds 6 weeks ago?
I don't think we're in any position to tell her what to do anymore.
That's
But I will say the thing that's very impressive about Sifan that is different than a lot of the fast women's times that we've seen recently, there's no men pacing her right now. That she's been on her own for a little bit now. Like, she dropped all of her pacers.
Yeah.
Probably feels good, right?
Yeah.
Waiting on this.
And it's kind of shocking that there's not even any men
She's
in the
looking
race
back.
that are
Happen to be in that
Right.
range.
Right.
like you would expect there to be some men who were going to run 2:13 today. And
Oh.
she is all
She is
alone.
in pain right now. Look at this face, head
Stefan-
bobbing.
Stefana's
Arms.
looking around like she's lost out there.
Yeah.
I do not want to see a replay of what we saw at Worlds,
Of the fall? Oh no.
but she is all over the road right now.
Why would you say that?
Yeah, I think
Because you guys just alluded to it. She's getting.
little
She is.
Little
topsy-turvy
unsteady.
here.
Yeah.
grit in her teeth.
Wow.
Oh my gosh, this turn is really gonna hurt.
I think you just
It's the
gotta.
hill.
You just gotta like run it in.
You might
But,
be
like, I
right.
don't think you're trying to kick
Sounds
anymore. Like I think
feasible.
you just run it in.
Ah, back.
It's 400.
Not until you see the
You'll
finish
see
line.
the 400 sign just to her left.
Okay, she'll
so
be-
right on the screen, but
That'll click for her in her head. It's like, I've done this before.
one lap
One lap.
of the marathon course.
Because she's 76 seconds up on the next person.
And that 2:11:30 time, I think, was like where all of the men were racing to.
Yeah, actually, great point, Mac. Stefan Hassan is going to be in the top 25 overall finishers.
Wow.
What place is she
Potentially
in
top
right now?
20. She's in
It looks
18th
like
right
top
now.
20.
She's in 18th.
18th. Yeah.
A huge gap from 17 to 18. But I wonder if that's that 2:11:30 is a, it was such a key time for the men that
Oh, wow,
that was where
she's
they were.
back.
What a
Wow.
surge.
Look at those arms.
A huge gear. Oh my goodness.
I can't
what a
wait
kick.
for her post-race interview.
I don't think she's gonna celebrate like Kelvin did. I think she's laying down. Wow. Throw it up. Kiss the crowd. Stefan Hassan, Chicago Marathon champion.
Wow.
2 for 2.
2 for 2.
Wow.
$2:13:44.
Wow.
Woo!
Second fastest time ever.
Wow. And all alone for quite some time there. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was 25K was the last time her and Chepengetich were together at a split. So it was between 25 and 30K. She put 10 seconds on her.
She's the most relatable runner in the world in terms of just like, yeah, she looks visibly tired. She's like, this is painful. I just need to be left alone.
I don't need anything. I need space.
She's like, no, I'm good.
Guy's like, he's looking around. There's something else that he could.
Like, you need anything? She's like, no, I said I don't need anything. Go away, get away from me. I just want to lay down. So, yeah, so Stefan Hassan.
These are awesome. Yeah,
there we
I think she's laughing. Like, this is like everybody said marathons were hard. Like, this is what it is.
Stefan Hassan ends up finishing 20th overall.
Oh, now she's back. She's back.
She doesn't-
Yes.
She needed to take a timeout. That's
No
it.
one recovers quicker than Stefan Hassan. All right, but now the question
The
is
sponsors that paid for these seats.
All right, the women coming in behind her.
Ruth Chepengetich.
Oh.
Ruth 2:15:37.
40K split. Molly Seidel has moved into second place ahead of Emma Bates.
I don't see Emma Bates.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't.
At 40K, she's in 11th.
Okay,
Tracking towards a 2:23:41 at 40K.
A little painful of a second and a half.
Sarah Vaughn is in 9th, 2:23 pace.
Sarah Vaughn, third American.
Yeah. So Sisson, Seidel, Vaughn, Bates.
Vaughn with a huge personal best on the horizon here.
And after the last couple of years, if Molly holds on, this is going to be a PB, which is I mean,
Amazing.
after, everything over the last 2 years, really, really cool to see, especially going to do trials.
Sarah, do you see the other Sarah in Boulder a lot?
I do. We run into each other occasionally. And, it's fun because she's someone that has had, such a successful career, track, marathon, road, kind of has, chosen to do it all. In addition to everything else she's balancing in her life. She's a very impressive person. And I love running into Sara. So last time I saw her, she was ripping some fast intervals on the track. That was probably a couple of months ago, and sent her a message afterwards. And I was like, hey, great to see you. You looked awesome. So now next time I'll see her, we'll be finishing Chicago Marathon in a big personal best.
Sarah is now being coached. I think, is this her first marathon under Amy and Alistair Craig? I believe so. I
Remotely,
believe that
right?
She just started working with them not too long ago. So shout out to them for helping her crush this one. So
Sisson's on 2:21:30.
So Mugurtu Alamu was third, 2:17:09, following up her second place in London earlier this year. And now they're pouring in. We're going to start seeing
Joycelyn Shipkowski right behind her.
another subplot that we have not spoken of at all is the number of Americans that are going after the Olympic trials qualifying time.
Yeah.
This is one of
A lot of women out there.
one of
And
the
men.
last really great opportunities. Obviously, we have CIM would be one that a lot would have targeted, but paying attention to see how many dip under those standards. I think, given the conditions of today, hopefully getting a few new ones.
CIM, I think, just is like too close.
Absolutely.
It's December, and honestly, I don't know when the window ends, but it's almost like 2 months to the day.
Yeah.
So yes, you get there, but if you made that your decision, you know that you're not having a good day in Orlando if you run it at CIM. So you're running CIM because you had to drop out in
Because
Chicago.
you want to go and you want to go.
Yeah, you want to go, but it's like you were running Chicago, you had to drop out or something of that nature where it didn't go as planned, and you're just like, I want to go to trials. Like this, I have the fitness. I'm gonna try. You're the late ad, but it was certainly. I doubt anybody was targeting that as I want to run well at trials. I'm gonna run CIM.
Right, absolutely.
So just going through some names of other people: Brian Schrader, 2:09:46, huge personal best. Wesley Kipp 2:10:28 in his debut. Matt McDonald was also 2:10:34. Joel Raichu was big personal best, 2:10:37. Andrew Colley got a few seconds, 2:11:22. Kevin Salvano,
Just under the
2:11:26.
4 seconds
Right
under
underneath
the time.
2:11:30 as well. Jordan Guzman debut 2:13:13. Connor Winter debut got the Olympic trials qualifier 2:15:51.
Wow.
It was a great day for people to run fast.
And this is the first time we are seeing an
Emily
American
Sisson.
woman in 2 hours and 20 minutes. Emily Sisson is on the screen.
Looking great.
Yeah, I mean, for Sisson, this is just the momentum she needs going into the Olympic trials. Same thing with Molly Seidel, just a big momentum shift.
I mean, I would say if there's a winner today who is not someone who won the race, it's Molly.
Molly.
Yeah, I was going to say, what was everyone's top three pick
She
a
hasn't
week
crossed the
ago
finish
versus
line
what
yet,
is it now
but-
for our our U.S. team for the women?
I think you feel very good about Molly all of a sudden. Not that I'm sure she was on plenty of people's top three previously, but now, not just based off of stuff that happened 2 years ago, but recently in the trajectory.
I guess the one that gets lost in the shuffle right now is Keira D'Amato. It's Keira D'Amato held the record and then lost it, but also put together a solid race at the Gold Coast Marathon. Betsy Sena is kind of out there also as a wild card. Was supposed to be in this race. Didn't get in because they didn't have enough appearance fee money for her.
Alphine, of course, the defending champion. She was supposed to be here, but was a late scratch. So, it's all about who's going to have it on that day. But I just think, given Molly's trajectory right now, she's back. And look, she hasn't crossed the finish line yet, but currently projected to run 2:22. And
I know
you know,
Sarah's with me in this one, but like even if this wasn't the race that Emma Bates wanted, I'm not counting her out in Orlando.
Oh, absolutely not. No. It's, you know, anybody's day on that day. And, you know, this is awesome to see, you know, Emily Sisson crushing here at the end and Molly Seidel, you know, coming back with a huge personal best. And, yeah, it's super exciting time for American women's marathoning for sure.
I think the other thing here, right, like Emily managing to like finish strong here despite falling off pace the last, you know, maybe 8-10K. But I think we'll see Molly Seidel pretty soon after. She was about a minute back at 40K, but had been making up a lot of ground too. So I think for Molly, she's going to be looking at it like, oh, I was there, and just you're always looking for reasons to make yourself feel confident about what's coming.
Yes.
And I think that she will be able to take a lot of positives away from this. For Emily, one of those positives is, you know, I went out, I did exactly what I wanted to do. I didn't have a perfect last 10K. I still beat the women in the American race that I was trying to beat. And that's a huge takeaway. Like, you're able to hang on even when you go out hard. They won't go out quite that hard in Orlando. I wouldn't expect them to. Noon, Florida, in, you know, but at the same time, you know, I think that being able to hang on when it's not going perfect is a huge strength to like hang your hat on.
See Emily Sisson here after crossing the finish line. I mean, it just seems like it was like, all right, got the job done. Like, it's not a massive celebration, not a huge PB or anything like that, but it's just like top American, tough day, like a tough way to run that time. There's Molly crossing the finish line.
So just over 2:23, 2:23.09. What was it? We'll see what 07 officially.
Wow.
Oh wow!
Wow, look at this Puma crew.
Yeah.
Crossing the finish line all together.
Rose Harvey and Sarah Vaughn.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Ben Bruce, I assume, was pacing.
Yeah, Ben
for a good chunk of
did
that.
a very good job.
Yeah.
Ben crushed
The
that.
sub 224 group all succeeds in that of those three. That was really impressive.
MVP, go Ben. Helping out the American women today.
Sarah Vaughn,
Yeah, great run
big
for Sarah Vaughn.
performance.
Well, so talking about people who won today that maybe didn't necessarily win, we're definitely putting Sarah Vaughn on that because, and this is what we were talking about in the pre-show, was there's this huge group of women who had run about 2:26, 2:27 before, and the goal for them was to get here and prove that they are justified in thinking that they have a fair chance in a few months. And I think Sara did that today. You know, like she made that jump from 2:26 to 2:23. Look, if we're saying Molly has a shot and Emily has a shot, Emma has a shot, like Sarah's right in there. So really, really big day for her. And I know the next few months I probably gave her a ton of momentum to believe, which is step one.
Gabby Rooker, Dakota Lindworm also coming through just now. They big personal best at 2:24 for them. Emma Bates now 2:25.04, ends up in 13th place. Man, I mean, trials are going to be so exciting. I guess we have a couple more weeks. I let New York pass, even though there isn't like a strong American contingent there. I mean, seeing what Emily Sisson did today, Molly Huddle is like on the way back as well. She's running New York. Just tons more storylines that could still unfold with however many months we have to go until February. I wish we had sound on this because Stefan Hassan's going to have some memorable quotes here.
I would say the warmer it is, the more it favors Sisson.
Yeah,
She's
agreed.
Probably the best heat runner I've actually ever seen.
I mean, think about the Olympic trials.
The trials,
10K.
That's my Roman Empire.
No, seriously. Actually, one of the most impressive races I've ever seen. Just the way that she squeezed that down. So at trials, if it's warm, I mean that's
All that training in
quite
Phoenix.
a bit for her.
Yeah.
Her advantage.
So Emma Bates comes across 13th, 2:25.04. You know, I think the thing that's really interesting here with so many people running is, you know, we don't know what happened to everyone and we didn't get to see much of the race. And It's not until post-race interviews or post-race.
Yeah, which I was thinking. I was like, do I run over there? I've got my credential in my bag.
I think that we are about done here. So.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's the big question. It's like what happened? When did the wheels kind of fall off? And we'll learn more in due time. But yeah, I mean, I'm still just in shock with the front end of these results and just how crazy they were.
Everyone always says that they have the best buildup of their lives coming in. You
Today,
know, two people who did not say that and underplayed their buildup?
Kelvin Kiptum
and Sifan Hassan.
Wow.
Yeah, Kiptum
You know.
explicitly said, "I'm not going for the world record."
Yeah.
Kelvin Kiptum, liar.
Liar. Fake news.
In the best way possible in this scenario.
Yeah, he can tell me that lie every time.
If you go break a world record, you can tell me whatever you want before a race.
Yeah. So, all right. So biggest winners, obviously the two winners. We said Molly Seidel on the men's side. I mean that Run Elite program that they have going up in Utah.
Crushing it.
Big day for
Yeah.
them today.
Des Linden just came in
Oh, what was it?
2:27:35.
She got the record. New
yeah.
Masters record.
New Masters
Wow.
record. Let's go.
Now Sarah Hall gets healthy, and maybe we might see that get lowered a little bit more as well.
Dom Scott, 2:27:31.
PB by about 2 minutes.
South African record?
I think South African record is 25.
Okay.
Which is like, I think in London she went out kind of on that pace. So this was maybe a little bit more conservative of an effort, but great run for her today.
All right, let's close it down. That was awesome. That was a freaking exciting, very, very good marathon. I would say we didn't see a lot of it. Not ideal. But I'm glad that we're able to sit around and talk about it, and thank God for live tracking.
Yeah. So for the 2,000 people who are still with us, I mean, like, this is the whole part to a race. Like, even after it finishes, like, there's just all this excitement. There's people out there probably looking up, when is the 2024 Chicago Marathon? I got to enter the lottery and sign up. But there's plenty more to watch. We're going to be shifting gears right after this to focus on, the New York City Marathon. So we'll have coverage of that in due time. I mean, this whole weekend in general wouldn't have been possible without the support of Bandit getting us out here, kitting us out. They've got tons of people out on the course right now. They have some people shooting for those OTQs. So the people in the really cool singlets and socks and half tights, they're all wearing Bandit out there right now.
Yeah. I mean, huge shout out to Bandit Running. Part of the reason why we're able to be here and bring you this coverage all weekend long, the amount of people that we came in. And we got to see who won the prediction contest, because we were giving away some Bandit
CITIUS
singlets on Instagram. But, I think for us, they came in and they said, like, what do you guys want to do to cover the sport this weekend, and how can we help? And, like, what more can you ask for in a partner?
So a big thing about their sort of like brand is just that it's community, all built around community, especially in New York City. Like, that's where it was like born. And I think like the tie-in that we brought in a little bit is the online community too. It's really being able to do this, connect with people watching in Kenya who maybe thought that they would see a little bit of the race on our stream, but it doesn't matter. Like, you just got introduced to a bunch of talking heads, and we spit out some takes and gave some analysis, and it was fun. It's all about, the marathon's not really about the training or the time on the clock. It's about the friends you make along the way. And it could be in a YouTube chat as well. So all that to say,
that was beautiful, Chris.
Thanks for tuning in to the CITIUS Mag watch party from the Chicago Marathon, live from the Bandit Pop-Up at 333 North Michigan Avenue. Actually, if you find yourself in the Chicago area, they're going to be open the rest of the month. They're going to stock up on some more gear. They're open today. If you ran the race and are watching this afterwards, because you're not Kelvin Kiptum and have the ability to pull this up right now, they're open also the next couple days doing post-race portraits. So yeah, come celebrate at the Bandit Running Pop-Up. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Chris Chavez. That's Kyle Merber, Sarah Masters, Declan Murray, and the graphics and all the cutaways on the camera wouldn't have been possible without Mr. Mac Fleet over there. So thanks for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. We'll get some interviews, some podcasts in the coming days. I love marathons.
I love marathons, track and field.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming to my hometown.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Bye.